Welcome back to the party, everybody. This is Morty, and I am your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Everybody hit that like and subscribe. You know I would do it for you. And let's party! Big shout out to the replay gang. Thank you so much for coming back to watch this, even though you missed the live party, guys. That is the best part, so make sure you are here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and sometimes whenever I feel like it. So hit that subscribe, ring the bell, and you will never miss an Indian Jesus live party ever again. If you'd like to support the channel, head on over to TheIndianJesus.com for your very own official merch. You can get a long sleeve shirt. You can get something for your baby. You can get a skateboard, all that good stuff at TheIndianJesus.com. Guys, we do also have a free Discord server. It is absolutely free. Even if you're not used to Discord, you don't know what it is. I'm actually going to do a stream going through Discord itself. I forgot my light. Got to go grab that. But it is absolutely free. It is a great place to meet interesting people. You may or may not agree with them, but you are definitely going to have a good time talking to them. And like I said, it is absolutely free to join. However, if you are a member of this channel on YouTube, and you can just scroll right below the video, hit that join button. There's a couple different tiers here, but it starts at just $2.99 a month. Gets you members only live streams here on YouTube, all that other good stuff. But the real thing is that it opens up the full Discord server. So it includes the voice channel. So as soon as we are done here, we head over to the after party. And we are we don't have to worry about any YouTube censors, anything like that. Absolutely free speech platform. And the best part is that you are not stuck behind your keyboard. You are actually on screen with me and everybody else. Let's do it. So happy. All right, let me fix this. This is going to bother me. This is going to bother me. That red light is going to be perfect. All right. So welcome back to another. If you've not been to Philosophy Friday, welcome. That is totally the crash course philosophy playlist, where it was kind of just a 101 on what is philosophy, how do you do this, that whole playlist. You guys were really interested in doing that stuff, so we're going to try something new and dive into absurdism. We did talk a little bit about it, in the other Philosophy Fridays, but this is gonna be a deep dive on the man himself. So without further ado, as always, guys, if you cannot hear the video, please do let me know.
Bonjour, madame, monsieur. Hi, everyone. If you believe in religion or divine power, you may have a clear path between life and afterlife. You may have a neat little story that explains life's ultimate meaning and purpose. But what if you don't believe in God? What is your story as an atheist? How do you find meaning? One of the biggest human dilemmas, our deep urge or quest for meaning in life, yet when you ask the universe for meaning, it doesn't answer. It's like you spend your entire life writing letters to someone who never replies. At the core of every human being, there is this desire for meaning.
1 second. So I don't want to bring that down.
But the world doesn't care. Philosophers have tried to come up with a good answer. One of the most logical answers has been nihilism. There is no meaning or purpose. Then this begs the question, why live if life has no meaning?
And that is really at the heart of why absurdism speaks to me so much. If life has no meaning, then why should we care about life? Well, because we have life.
Yeah, we all do. 99.9% of us continue on living. So what is going on? Of course, some thinkers like Dostoevsky return to religion and tradition as a response to nihilism. Other philosophers like Nietzsche offered artistic creativity and philosophical endeavor, but it only applies to a select minority of artist geniuses who are capable of creating values in society that transcend their own lives. What about the rest of us, the other 95% of us?
Well, I would say, as in the modern day, people like that are those that are culture jamming. People like, Alex Stein going into the town hall meetings and, making a mockery without making fun of anyone specifically, just showing the absurdity of reality. I think what everybody else needs to do is highlight that Alex Stein is doing that, or you have public square where the brands that stand for your values come together. That's what you need to do. Support the people who are saying the stuff that you can't or won't.
Society that transcend their own lives. What about the rest of us, the other 95% of us? Albert Camus, the French novelist and philosopher, however, offered an alternative to both religion and nihilism that applies to the majority of us. He argued that life is absurd, meaningless, and
Yep.
contradictory, and it sucks. However, despite its meaninglessness, absurdity, and contradiction, we grow to love life. Why? To answer this, Camus, just like his mentor Nietzsche, returned to pre Christian ancient Greece for an answer. Nietzsche argued that
Going to the
religions,
Greeks.
Christianity in particular, had corrupted the human mind by obsessing over and giving priority to afterlife.
Your life is not a waiting room. One of the biggest problems that I have with religious thinking, that I didn't think to have this opinion, but one of the biggest things is focusing on the what comes next. And I get it. I get why people want to do that, but we're here now. What about now?
Particular had corrupted the human mind by obsessing over and giving priority to afterlife. As a result, we neglect this life, always thinking the grass is greener in heaven. The ancient Greeks, however, valued this life despite believing in an afterlife. Today, I'll look at Albert Camus' life, summarize his 4 novels, 2 of his essays, and tell you 10 philosophical ideas and secrets we can learn from his life and writings.
That's what we get it into. There's Anne. There's the chat. Somebody, finally, I'm like, where is everybody? Anne said, I'd actually agree with that sentiment. Well, welcome to the party, and thank you. Yeah, I think it makes sense, right? It just makes sense. Welcome.
I'll also answer why later in life Camus' understanding of art shifted his views away from revolutionary Marxism, an ideology he was deeply drawn to in his youth, and his philosophy for offering solution to the meaning of life for the ordinary people was highly influenced by Marxism. So sit back and pour some coffee into your French wine, and let's talk absurdism and Albert Camus.
So if you missed that, there's a touch of Marxism in here. And the interesting aspect, as you know, us being in 2024 in this political climate, how are we able to say that something that even touches Marxism could be worthwhile? And we're gonna find out.
Life. Albert Camus was born on 7th of November 1913 in Algeria to a French family. His father died a year later during World War I, leaving Camus' mother to care for him and his brother. They lived in a poor neighborhood of the capital Algiers with his grandma and his disabled uncle.
Shout out to Stephen Colbert Cheese. Welcome to the party. Said I have nothing to say that wouldn't be absurd. Well, you and me both, just like the rest of us. You got it. I have nothing to say about nihilism either. Oh, good one. Happy Philosophy Friday to you, sir.
And his brother. They lived in a poor neighborhood of the capital Algiers with his grandma and his disabled uncle. At primary school, he met a teacher who helped him get a scholarship to enter a prestigious school in 1923. Some 30 years later, in his Nobel Prize speech, Camus dedicated the prize to that same teacher. Despite his working class background, his European heritage allowed him certain privileges like good education, enrollment in a football club that were not available to most local Arab Algerians. But when it comes to health, there is no privilege. In 1930, Camus
When it comes to health, there is no privilege. I would disagree with that, but
most local allowed him certain privileges like good education, enrollment in a football club that were not available to most local Arab Algerians. But when it comes to health, there is no privilege.
Maybe it means specifically for Camus.
In 1930, Camus, aged 17, contracted tuberculosis.
I was gonna say, yeah, that I have the privilege of not having tuberculosis,
which put an abrupt stop to his education and football career. So he moved out of his family home to avoid infecting others and went to live with his butcher uncle.
I would assume when he says football that they mean European football, aka soccer. Shout out to Damaris. Welcome to the party, sir. Very good to see you doing a deep dive here on Camus and Absurdism.
Football career. So he moved out of his family home to avoid infecting others and went to live with his butcher uncle. For Camus, the isolation, but most crucially, the illness itself, as well as seeing animals being killed to feed humans, gave him a sharp existential focus about the nature of life.
That makes sense. I mean, if you're seeing that, and we're talking about the what 1930s and 40s, maybe not after the Depression. So we're in an industrialized world. I don't know how many people, if you're not actually a farmer, are actually, not just going to whatever store and buying their food. So yeah, that definitely makes sense. And guys, if I could ask you really, really quick to just share this everywhere, plaster it wherever you can. Even if nobody clicks on your link, by telling YouTube that I want this, I want other people to see this, they will bring more people in. Let's get that party really, really raging. And look who we got. We got Size Porn. Welcome to the party, sir. Very, very, very good to see you.
Seeing animals being killed to feed human gave him a sharp existential focus about the nature of life. So he became deeply interested in philosophy, specifically the pessimistic philosophy of Schopenhauer and the atheistic philosophy of Nietzsche, and the egalitarian philosophy of Marx. Through Nietzsche, particularly his influential book The Birth of Tragedy, he also discovered ancient Greek philosophers. I should point out that Anton Chekhov, the Russian genius, also lived with tuberculosis for a long period of his life. As a result, he also had a very bleak and pessimistic view of life. Both, however, turned that pessimism to optimism, Camus mostly through philosophy and Chekhov through storytelling. Not just that, both Camus and Chekhov were deeply interested and involved in theater. In 1933, Camus entered the University of Algiers, and not surprisingly, he studied philosophy and wrote his thesis on Plotinus, the ancient Egyptian-born Greco-Roman philosopher who, like Plato, emphasized ideas over matter, mind over body.
Shout out to Multivox. Welcome to the party. Good to see ya. We also got our boy Zippy, DSM Lee. Said humans the only create to be so out of touch they have existential dread. Pretty much.
Roman philosopher who, like Plato,
guys.
emphasized ideas over matter, mind over body. Plotinus was influenced by Eastern philosophy as he traveled to Persia and learned about Indian enlightenment to escape the cycle of reincarnation. Plotinus was also the pioneer of Neoplatonism, which gave Plato's philosophy an Eastern flavor by emphasizing unity of mind and body and the idea of one universal being. In his university thesis, Camus juxtaposed Christianity with ancient Greek philosophy, arguing that the Christian premise of afterlife made this life almost meaningless and redundant.
Life is not a waiting room, and I think that's going to really come down to a lot of this is putting the ideas of Christianity and other things that mimic Christianity and for all intents and purposes, and trying to determine that this one is better or that one is better or this one is right and that one is wrong. Can't do it.
It's because you could die at birth and go straight to heaven. Living a long life can only increase your chance of committing more sins, which could take you to hell.
Right. So why not just self-delete as soon as you understand what that means?
It makes sense not to live very long if heaven is guaranteed for babies. So basically, for Camus, most religions didn't value this life, only treated it as a test for afterlife. Camus understood that the Greeks, on the other hand, celebrated this life despite their belief in the divine power. And no surprise that Camus, just like Nietzsche, returned to ancient Greece to find a true atheistic meaning for life in one of his most famous works, The Myth of Sisyphus, which...
And we definitely talked about that. I think it was last week. I think it was last week. The guy pushing the boulder up a hill. And guys, do not forget that every donation comes with a dog treat from my co-host Morty here. Just came out of the ER, still trying to get some more food in his tummy. So, if you want to help with that, that would definitely be appreciated.
Which I will discuss later. Outside his study, Camus had two passions, actually three. First, he played goalkeeper in a professional football or soccer team in Algeria. As a goalkeeper, you have a clear view of the entire football pitch, which gives you a better perspective in terms of who's who and where they stand, which must have helped him with the power of philosophical and artistic observation. For Camus, football also represented a small tribe that gave him a sense of belonging. And
and the absurd, it goes right in hand. Existential dreadlocks, I don't know about that. But hey, super $100 super chat and we'll see. That's a joke.
For Camus, football also represented a small tribe that gave him a sense of belonging and togetherness and with a common purpose and goal, pun intended. But unfortunately, his football career was cut short after he was infected with tuberculosis. Such is life. From the midst of football tribalism, he retreated to an isolated corner of a butcher's house like some injured animal. Life is really absurd. His second passion also involved tribalism, the theater, and communism. Camus in 1936 joined the French Communist Party and later the Algerian Communist Party, so he organized a workers' theater. After he was expelled from the party, he continued his theater involvement because it allowed him that sense of togetherness and teamwork. Camus was drawn to Marxism because it emphasizes a group bond. Later in life, he continued to work with the theater, and he famously and quite ironically staged Dostoevsky's Demons, a novel that questions a communist revolution.
Yeah, I'm not about that. Zippy, he says $1,000 super chat and you'll get dreads. I mean, if you make it 2, I just had to drop $5,000 for this. So $5,000 in super chats in one stream, and I will get dreadlocks. There we go. Well, obviously, but we'll start the process.
Famously and quite ironically staged Dostoevsky's Demons.
Hey, shout out to Guam Tag. Welcome to the party. Are you staring at me? You want to come up here? Very glad you are here for this one, brother. Very, very glad you are here for this one. We gonna get absurd. We gonna get silly. Let's do it.
Later in life, he continued to work with the theater, and he famously and quite ironically staged Dostoevsky's Demons, a novel that questions a communist revolution, which I have discussed here. By then,
just really quick, can we all just go laugh at Sailor in Discord? If you know.
Camus was no longer a communist because he had grown old enough to see the other side of a communist revolution that began suppressing individual freedom in the USSR.
There we go. So that's the tie. The tie is that he came from a perspective of being a Marxist and then was like, oh, I'm not about that life. Love it.
Grown as a communist.
Hey, shout out to President Donald J. Trump. Austin 316 said he just whooped your ass. I actually did just watch I'm not into wrestling, but I just watched the Netflix limited series on Vince McMahon. Very, very well done. Very well done. And welcome to our next president. Zippy said, communists do not want you thinking. Marxists don't care as long as you're part of the revolution. That's well said, sir. Dilly to that. Glomtech said, from my small understanding of absurdism, I'm quite a fan. Such a useful way to look at life. Yeah, there's no purpose, and instead of being sad about it, just awesome. There's no purpose that I have to meet. I can just do whatever makes me happy. And hopefully, doing good things is what makes you happy. But there has to be, and I'm kind of getting ahead of myself now, but that's the problem with just in general, happiness and doing what feels good and nothing else. That's hedonism. But you don't have to, that's not an on-off switch. It doesn't mean you either do everything just because of the immediate pleasure or you don't do anything that has pleasure at all. But we'll get into it.
With the theater, and he famously and quite ironically staged Dostoevsky's Demons, a novel that questions a communist revolution, which I have discussed here. By then, Camus was no longer a communist because he had grown old enough to see the other side of a communist revolution that
Multibox, interesting questions. So does absurdism promote authenticity? I would say yes, because there's no, and right now I'm just comparing it to Christianity for the sake of we all kind of have a good understanding of what Christianity is. But I think in Christianity, there's a big incentive to just go along. And even if you don't really believe, that you say you believe, or you go through the motions, you say the things you're supposed to say. Whereas if you don't believe anything is real or anything matters, then what reason do you have to go along just for the sake of going along? And you're more likely to just do the things that you authentically want to do. So I would say yes. Does anybody disagree? And oh yeah, we do have the poll going. I'm gonna keep it up for a while. I just kind of want to see where you guys are at with it. So if you have not, please hit that poll, and of course that like button.
Began suppressing individual freedom in the USSR. His third passion, and perhaps the most important one too, of course, as a Frenchman or any man, was sex. He married twice, but also had a lot of sex on the side. I guess a man's ultimate purpose in life is to pass on his genes. Camus was blessed with good looks. He was handsome, masculine, and had a status as a successful writer, which allowed him access to many women.
Hey, Camus, the player. So we said absurdism promotes authenticity and that you walk the life you can understand your own abilities. So it's more grounded. Is this actually Zippy? Did you give your phone to somebody? Jokes.
He was handsome,
Jokes.
masculine, and had a status as a successful writer, which allowed him access to many women. In 1940, many French were fleeing the French capital from the German occupation. Camus, however, instead of escaping the fire, moved to Paris to work for a newspaper. It paid off. As his writing became more popular, he grew more well-known and famous. In Paris, he met the other existentialist giant Jean-Paul Sartre. Now, interesting to point out, Camus and Sartre came from two polar opposites.
And remember, Sartre was. Did we? I forget if we went over that. I'm pretty sure we talked about Jean Paul Sartre in early on in the series. But yeah, most from the bourgeoisie, and forgetting a comma, that is definitely totally fine. It's when I can't read what the hell y'all are saying is what bothers me. So yeah, absolutely. There's absolutely no external validation, because validation from who? Who has the power to say you're doing this right or you're doing that wrong? Now, of course, we have scientific endeavors that if you're, murdering people, then that's not conducive to a flourishing society. So we can, from the actual concept of it, and we bring it down into the actual laws and behaviors. Of course, we want to have a flourishing society, but not because God said so. Well, you already said that? Yeah, okay. Like said, if there's no meaning to life, a lot of people would ask, then why try? Absurdism seems to ask them, then why not go all out? You got it. You got it. Bingo. At least that's, my understanding as well. And I am far from a philosopher. But yeah, that's my understanding as well.
Jean-Paul Sartre. Now, interesting to point out, Camus and Sartre came from two polar opposites. Sartre from wealthy bourgeois family and Camus from a relative poverty, but both found Marxism very appealing. But later they fell out due to the ideological differences. Sartre was keen on a Maoist-style revolution, while Camus wanted a peaceful reform. His 1942 novel The Stranger made him a celebrity, so much so that people paid to attend his lectures. Yeah, so Multivox said absurdism promotes intrinsic motivation rather than extrinsic motivation. Exactly. And again, it's kind of a jump off, if you can think of it that way, as to nihilism of just everything sucks. Life is pain and whatever. And like Quantek says, it takes that notion, that realization, a step further. And well, there's no God to upset. There's no God to upset. Now, if you're a good person, then you just do the good things that you already want to do, because doing good things makes you feel good, and then that leads to other people saying, "Oh, like this is good. I want to do that too." And yeah, absolutely, intrinsic versus extrinsic. His 1942 novel The Stranger made him a celebrity, so much so that people paid to attend his lectures. Not just that, he received the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1957, aged 44, making him the second youngest writer ever to receive the prize after Rudyard Kipling, who was 41 in 1907. Such is the absurdities of life. When you go up, you always have to come down, just like the boulder of Sisyphus. At the height of his fame and success in 1960... I had assumed they would have gone into that. If you are not familiar with the Myth of Sisyphus, put a 1 in the chat. If you're not familiar with the Myth of Sisyphus. While returning back from a holiday, the car he was traveling in crashed into a tree, killing him instantly. In his pocket, the police found an unused train ticket to Paris. He was supposed to travel by train with his wife and kids, but for some bizarre reason, he had chosen to travel by car, driven by his publisher, Gallimard, who also died in the crash. They also found a 144-page manuscript of his novel in progress, The First Man, an autobiographical novel about his life growing up in Algeria. Perhaps a novel similar to Proust's In Search of Lost Time, taking a more artistic approach to fiction and less philosophical. So everybody knows what the Myth of Sisyphus is. Today, Albert Camus is considered one of the most influential novelist philosophers of the 20th century. Now, I'll discuss 4 of his most famous novels and 2 of his philosophical essays before I tell you 10
Let's
philosophical
do it.
lessons we can draw from them.
And so, just a little sneak peek here. We got the 10 lessons that we are gonna get from this: aliens, tribalism, creation, random, ignorance, death, Zen, greatness, happiness, and rebellion.
A Happy Death. Albert Camus' first novel, A Happy Death, was written sometime between 1936 and 1938, but was published after his death in 1971. Basically, in this novella, Camus tried to respond to Schopenhauer and Nietzsche. Schopenhauer argued that on a deeper level, humans are driven by a blind will to life. We can't help but continue living despite how miserable it might be.
Right. So then if we bring in this idea that, well, if nothing matters, why not just end it all? And he's saying that, well, because you have a natural drive to want to live. That's how evolution works. And the people who have the will, skill, and ability to survive will. It's called the selfish gene. Your genes have coding in them that want to create more of themselves by any means necessary. Zippy says, skill, trade, interactions, that's the validating feedback loop. Kind of like Nietzsche's live in the now. You can only live in the now if you know where you've been. Well, I would say you can only live in the now, period. But you can only appreciate living in the now if you know where you've been. Well said. Multivox said, if you don't require purpose, would that make comparing pointless too? Comparing what? What do you mean by that? Context. So the funny thing is I learned about nihilism and absurdism through 2 giant robot animes, both of which ended up being in my top 5 favorite lists of anime. Well, anywhere you can get it. Anywhere you can get it.
Driven by a blind will to life.
Yeah, so that's Schopenhauer says that's just part of the genes. So comparing yourself to others. So if you don't require purpose, would that make comparing others pointless too? Well, it depends on what you decide is your purpose. When we say there's no purpose, we don't mean that you cannot have a purpose. We mean that there's no inherent purpose. As a Christian might believe that my purpose is to live the will of God. And so regardless of what I do or don't want to do, that is what I have to do. And so if there's no given purpose, then you get to decide what that purpose is. And so I've decided that I want my purpose to be a YouTuber, being able to spread ideas and bring people together. And so because I've chosen that doesn't mean that comparing myself to other channels and what does this streamer do and that's so wouldn't really it's not pointless because I've decided to care about wanting my channel to grow and wanting my message to get out there. But again, there's nothing inherent to the universe about my message. I do think I'm right, but my message in general, that we need to be able to come together and communicate with the people that we disagree with. That there's too much we have in common for us to be fighting about stupid little things that we don't. Like I personally am, if you haven't picked it up, I'm an atheist, but I do lean more to the right as of the last 8 or 9 years, and it's difficult. It's difficult to be in this space as an atheist because the assumption is that we Christians are voting this way and going this way because this is what God wants. That's our purpose, to bring about what God wants. And so when they look at me and they say, well, you don't care about what God wants. I'm like, you're right. I don't believe he exists. But does that prevent me from being able to articulate behaviors and modalities and ideologies that could help society flourish? So it really depends on what purpose you choose. It's not that you don't have a purpose, you could choose to not have a purpose, but it's the freedom that because there is no purpose, you have that ability. Because if there's already a goal, that's the goal. But if there's no goal, do whatever you want. Make if you want to be the best mukbang YouTuber, you can get fat as hell. If you want to be the best crocheter, you can do that too. And you could decide, I don't want to be the best anything. I just want to spend my time let's say crochet. I just want to spend my time crocheting. And then in that case, you absolutely wouldn't need to compare yourself to anybody because you're just living in the now, doing the thing that you enjoy. And it's, as long as it's not a socially bad thing, which of course gets into the argument of what is socially good or bad, but as long as it's not socially bad, then there's no reason to think that there's any immorality tied to it. Good question. Context. So the funny thing is, I learned. Did we get that one? Oh yeah, we got that. Can you truly be authentic and intrinsically motivated if you compare to others? Yeah, I think so. Because I think that there's the reality of whether it's resources. Only one person can have the most of something. Whether it's money, whether it's subscribers, whether it's whatever, only one person can have the most. And so if your goal is to be the best, then comparing yourself to others is naturally part of that. But many people who even keeping it in this context of YouTube, many people just like posting videos, don't really care if their channel grows. And so because their goal is not about reaching as many people, then their popularity, and especially popularity compared to other people, you're right, shouldn't matter to them. So it really depends. And again, I think that's really the beauty of it, is that you get to choose. We all get to choose.
We can't help but continue living despite how miserable it might be. Nietzsche thought this will to life or survival was too passive, so he changed the will to life to will to power, to energize it a bit and give it a bit of oomph.
So that kind of saying, that's kind of the what is it? The will to power. So not only is there a drive to be alive, but there's a drive to have some sort of power. And I don't think that means political power. I think that means more like agency over your life.
So he changed the will to life to will to power, to energize it a bit and give it a bit of oomph. Albert Camus, however, said life is not about surviving or conquering, but it's about our deep desire to be happy. So will to happiness is the premise of this novel. First thing is,
shout out to Bonzig. Welcome to the party. So comparison is the thief of joy. I mean, definitely a something to keep in mind. But there's competition is good. So I wouldn't necessarily. I think it's about balance. It's about balance. Comparing yourself to others, but understanding that you have your own value and worth within yourself. And nobody else determines that. You determine that. Welcome.
It's a short novella in 2 parts. Part 1, titled Natural Death.
What do you mean this is a new one?
That is about Patrice Marceau. Incidentally, the same name as the
Are they gonna give me ish about
protagonist of Camus' most famous novel, The Stranger? He has a boring life, a boring job, and a partner he doesn't really love. It's very much an early version of The Stranger. Upon meeting a wealthy yet a disabled man, he decides to kill him to take his money. This is like Raskolnikov in Crime and Punishment, except that Raskolnikov never manages to use the money he steals. Part 2 is titled Conscious Death, depicts Marceau's life after he's rich.
So this is we're still talking about The Stranger, his first novel. Multibox said, "Do you believe that all humans have innate value and worth, regardless of whether they receive external recognition, acknowledgement, or success?" I think yes, I believe all humans are born with that. I think there are definitely things that you can do to if not get rid of that worthiness, certainly taint it to a strong degree. But yes, even though I don't have any, I have a religious background. I was born in the Catholic Church, and I was confirmed in the Methodist Church, and it wasn't until college, of course, that I left my religion. But unlike so many of the other college atheists, I actually realized that, there's a lot of good stuff in Christianity. And even though I don't believe some of the truth claims, I don't want to throw all that stuff out because it works. It works. Yeah, I don't think, definitely not on external recognition, acknowledgement, or success. I think it would be more about, again, the negativity that you're putting into society, whether that is a low level of just being annoying to people, or if you're saying things that can, like bad propaganda that can actually, or if you're actually going out and being directly offensive. Those are the types of things that I would say would lower the value of that person. But I'm not sure if you can get rid of it. So I'd say yes. I would say yes.
He steals. Part 2 is titled Conscious Death. Depicts Merceau's life after he's rich. He still fails to find happiness despite seeking it anywhere and everywhere. At the end, he becomes seriously ill, and on the verge of death, he's finally happy. It's an ironic tale of a man seeking a happy life who ends up getting happiness when he's close to death. Albert Camus reverses natural death with conscious death. The murder in part 1 is titled as natural death because in nature, death comes somewhat abruptly.
Can you point to a human who's not a person?
While dying of an illness in part 2 is a conscious death because we are
By you asked the question.
aware of it. The novel raises some important questions like how much we strive for happiness yet we fail to be happy. In other words, we seek happiness but we don't know how to be happy.
We seek happiness, but we don't know how to be happy. I think that is such a perfect description of the dogmatic leftism that we see. They seek all of these things to fix them and to be, and it never is. They're all so mad all the time.
It's like a book collector who collects endless books yet cannot read. The Stranger. Published 1942, The Stranger is Camus' most famous novel. It tells the story of Merceau, a Frenchman who lives in Algeria. The story has 3 main plot points or 3 deaths. The death of Merceau's mother, the murder of an Arab man, and finally his own execution.
So his mom, an Arab man, and then himself. Understood. So that, I'm asking you. Shout out to Carl Johansson. Welcome to the party. So the mistake is seeking or expecting happiness. I agree on the second part. I disagree that seeking happiness is a problem. I think the manner in which you do that is very important, because I mean there's a lot of happy monks that are just sitting meditating, and I guess that drills down into what exactly are we defining happiness as. But I don't think looking for things that are beneficial to you, that provide you with that emotion of happiness, I don't think seeking that is necessarily bad. I think putting seeking happiness over, a lot of our other values, like being a good person, is the mistake. Yeah, well said. Welcome to the party. We said I might be a self-loathing cat, but humans have issues with awareness and understanding. You can say that again.
3 deaths. The death of Merceau's mother, the murder of an Arab man, and finally his own execution. The awareness of death makes humans unique in the animal kingdom, so each death awakens something in Marceau from his animal state of indifference and gives him clarity of sort. If Sartre said we are condemned to be free, Camus says we are condemned to death, but also to be guilty. So at the heart of the novel is
Wait, I didn't hear that again.
From his animal state of indifference and gives him clarity of sort. If Sartre said we are condemned to be free, Camus says we are condemned to death. But
so are we condemned to be free, meaning that we have the infinite choice, the theoretically infinite choice, or are we condemned to death? Or are they mutually exclusive? Are we condemned to be free and then die? We never know. Carl said, if ignorance is bliss, then seeking happiness is pursuing being an idiot. It's hard to argue with that. It is hard to argue with that. But I don't think that while ignorance definitely can be bliss, I don't think that that necessarily means, like when we say ignorance is bliss, I don't think being blissfully ignorant is the peak of human happiness. And I don't know. I definitely wouldn't know. So, but it is hard to argue with that.
Of sort. If Sartre said we are condemned to be free, Camus says we are condemned to death, but also to be guilty. So at the heart of the novel is this central question which Camus poses himself. Quote, in our society, any man who does not weep at his mother's funeral runs the risk of being sentenced to death.
I mean, okay. Well, I'll just put that to the side. Multibox says, seeking value and worth externally is so transient. Self-validation is key. And that's where, I'm having trouble, really wholeheartedly saying that seeking that is a bad thing. So if you're seeking self-validation, why is that worse than seeking nothing?
In our society, any man who does not weep at his mother's funeral runs the risk of being sentenced to death. In other words, Meursault is not only guilty for killing someone, but also because he didn't cry at his mother's funeral. That's the kind of man he is, emotionally unavailable, a term used by women today to describe some men. Meursault gets the news that his mother has died of old age. He takes time off work to be at a funeral, but contrary to common societal expectation, he doesn't cry or show sadness. He acts as though nothing has happened. He drinks, he smokes, he has sex with his girlfriend.
Beast!
He even helps his neighbor, Raymond, to have a revenge sex with an Arab woman who might have betrayed him. Not only that, when Raymond is arrested for assaulting the girl, Meursault helps his friend, parroting his friend's words to the police that the woman was unfaithful. Meursault doesn't ask questions and does not think if his action might hurt someone. He simply does what he feels at the moment. In other words, he feels no guilt of what happened in the past because he is always in the present, so to speak. For example, he's
live in the present.
Shocked to hear that some people negatively judged him when he sent his mother to live in a nursing home. When Meursault's boss asks him if he wants to work in a company's branch in Paris, he says whatever. When his girlfriend Marie asks him if they should get married, his answer is the same: whatever makes you happy.
Happy wife, happy life, right, guys? Stephen said, bliss lies at the boundary between epistemic and instrumental truth, where defining what is most rational loses meaning. But your bliss may vary. That's definitely true. Definitely. Shout out to Craig. Welcome to the party. Good evening to you. Hope you are doing well. Multibox says self-validation is internal. Seeking validation is external. Okay, but so it's impossible to seek internal self-validation? Is that what we're saying? Because if we're saying we want to achieve self-validation, what is the meaningful difference between saying we want to achieve this and we are seeking this? I'm not seeing a difference there.
His girlfriend Marie asks him if
Hey, shout out to Funk Master General with the 5 gifted memberships. Thank you so much. And of course, every donation comes with a treat for Morty. Thank you so very much. And guys, if you were gifted a if you were gifted a membership, make sure you join that Discord server. That is where you want to be. The after party starts right after this. Thank you, sir. And of course, that makes you the new sponsor of the stream. Very much appreciated.
If you want, some people negatively judged him when he sent his mother to live in a nursing home. When Meursault's boss asked him if he wants to work in a company's branch in Paris, he says whatever. When his girlfriend Marie asks him if they should get married, his answer is the same: whatever makes you happy. He doesn't care either way. His indifferent attitude to life is a real time bomb, so Camus cranks it up a notch. One day on a beach, Meursault's friend Raymond is attacked by the brother of the Arab woman he had assaulted with a knife. Raymond gets his gun to shoot, but Meursault grabs the gun from him to stop the murder. Incidentally, none of the Arab characters are named in the novel. Whether conscious or subconscious Camus' part, it shows the disparity of life between the French and the Arabs in Algeria back then.
Shout out to Aware Productions. Welcome to the party. So one does not seek self-validation. One grants it to himself. I don't disagree, but I feel like when we're comparing seeking external validation versus granting oneself self-validation, it seems like a semantic difference to say that you don't seek it, you just I get that, but the is it not the goal that the goal that I want to achieve is have that self-validation. If I have a goal, to me, I think there's no difference in saying you seek you're seeking that. I think if you have a goal, then that is seeking it. Seeking infers that it comes from others. I don't think so. I mean, seeking just means looking. If you're seeking a bear in the woods, if you're seeking a particular type of tree, you're just looking to find it. I don't know why that would infer that it comes from others. Multibox said others can't give you value or validation or worth because you are born with value and worth. Yup. Shout out to Craig. Yeah, you are a member now. Make sure you join that Discord. And if you have a different name, let me know what it is so I can give you the permissions for the after party. He said, without awareness, there's only ignorance. Fair. So the irony of a French person are paying, as we say over here, a Muslim. Yeah, right? It's usually, but that's a conversation for a different day. Aware Production said, why seek something that is simply a choice? I agree. And I think, I agree. I think we're having I just think that's semantic. So yeah, in the way that I'm saying it, if you're seeking it, then it just means that you haven't mentally gotten to the place where you understand how to make that choice. But I mean, we get into the weeds there. Seeking stuff. Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Just Camus' part, it shows the disparity of life between the French and the Arabs in Algeria back then. Later that day, Meursault, while walking on the same beach, encounters the same Arab man with a knife. Meursault still has Ramon's pistol, so he shoots the Arab man not 1 time but 5 times. He's arrested and put in jail. He promptly confesses to the murder. But why did you kill him? His only explanation is that the sun was too hot and bright, so he acted instinctively and somewhat reflexively.
Psycho. Come on, bro. You can't be doing that. Funkmaster said must have been the inspiration for Pepe Le Pew. Good. Yeah, Zippy says if you do not know, then all you can do is seek. I agree. Aware said plebeians are fast and loose with the meanings of words. Oh yeah. We definitely the semantic obfuscation is one of my core issues with the way, this is more of a political channel that we do Philosophy Fridays. But when it comes to political rhetoric, propaganda, semantic obfuscation, the purposeful twisting of meanings and use of words to try to change the understanding of what is initially meant by those words. Agreed.
Is that the sun was too hot and bright, so he acted instinctively and somewhat reflexively. That's it. While in prison, days turned to weeks, then months and years as he waited for his trial. In court, the focus is not so much on the murder of an Arab man, but more on Meursault's inability to cry at his mother's funeral. Camus inadvertently shows the disparity of life in Algeria. An actual Arab man is murdered, yet the prosecutor is more focused on him not crying at his European mother's funeral.
So aware is that outside force cause you to be distracted from what has always been right in front of you. And so what I'm saying is, let's say I'm at that place where I'm externally seeking something that has what's already inside and right in front of me. How would you describe the process of coming to the realization that that from the position I just said, where you're seeking, to understanding that what you're seeking has been inside you or right in front of you? How would you describe that process or that mechanism? It simply is, not will be. Now we're getting esoteric. I don't know.
The Arab man is murdered, yet the prosecutor is more focused on him not crying at his...
How is seeking a future event? I am currently seeking. Oh, okay. I get you. It's focusing on the future. Yeah, I agree.
In Algeria, an actual Arab man is murdered, yet the prosecutor is more focused on him not crying at his European mother's funeral. To be fair to Camus, he perhaps wanted to expose the legal system not from a racial viewpoint, but from an existential viewpoint. That if someone doesn't know how to cry, he is guilty. If women can cry, why can't men? That's the main question the novel poses. Because he failed to cry, the prosecutor portrays him as a remorseless monster. He's sentenced to death. As he waits for his execution, Merceau refuses to see a priest because he doesn't believe in God and sees no physical way out of certain death. As Dostoevsky said in his novel The Idiot, in nature, when you face death, either a wild beast attacking you or your enemy in wars, there's always some hope of survival because you can battle or struggle to live. But when the state condemns you to death, there is no hope, no chance to escape. Death is the only certainty.
Steven said, don't you need to study etymology or the technical field involved before you can know if or how words are being twisted very competently? Yeah, definitely if we want to add the competently. I don't necessarily think that you need to be super deep in the weeds of etymology to understand if somebody is bullshitting you. So I think in the confident by adding very confidently, I definitely agree. But I don't think you need to have a study to understand when somebody's bullshitting you.
But when the state condemns you to death, there is no hope, no chance to escape. Death is the only certainty. Merceau spends days soul-searching to understand his fate. Finally, he settles on one incredible conclusion. Merceau tells the priest that we can escape from everything, but nobody can escape death. It doesn't matter how you die, but we all do. This fate is sown in us from the day we're born. This simple yet profound conclusion allows Merceau to accept his fate. Not only that, the mere act of expressing himself or yelling those words at the priest also liberates Merceau in a kind of Freudian talking therapy or church confession. He reflects, perhaps for the very first time in his life. He's finally awakened to the human condition. He was an animal, but now he realizes death as a human experience.
And yeah, awareness saying that awareness is simply opening your eyes and other in the consciousness of it, not some future event. And this is where doing LSD has really changed my perspective on things, and that I think that's probably a much bigger factor in my atheism than I give it credit for. And just being able to, if you know, but being able to experience that which seemed impossible, that you wouldn't have been able to conceive, and then it's just there. It's blow your mind wide open. Excuse me. The book said, well, it's not inherently bad to seek external validation. It can become unhealthy when it's the be-all, end-all. Bingo. It's important to know when to take constructive feedback, relying completely on it. Yeah, I definitely agree. And that's why, when we're talking about seeking these external things, again, I agree with you that it's not bad to seek external validation. It's the prioritization of that external validation over the self-validation. Oh yeah. It's been a few years. I definitely need another trip.
Merceau is finally happy. Not only that, he's looking forward to the execution to hear the hatred of the crowd so he won't be alone while dying. In The Stranger, Albert Camus raises two important issues: our human awareness of death and feeling guilt. The novel has three deaths. One.
Well, yeah, and it's only about we got there, and yeah, the whether you're talking about the acid or the conversation, either way, that's what I love about this stuff is tweaking the way that we phrase things. As Bonzig was saying, the linguistics of it to come back to an understanding of things that you may or may not already have an understanding of, but it's not a conscious, fully formed thought in your mind. It can be tough. Prioritize self-validation. And guys, if you have not already, please do me a huge favor and hit that like button. It's free, it's easy, and it helps out so much. And if you are a mod, remember why you got the wrench. So he says again, you have basic awareness, but dismiss it because you lack more information to really put it into practice. Without true awareness, you lack the information to do anything. Fair enough. Where said the Dalai Lama said acid pot give you a taste of something you could simply choose without drugs. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree with that. But as somebody who's living in a very earthly 2024 America, you gotta detach yourself from the stuff that brings us down. Being on YouTube, being on your phone, caring about, the minutia of day-to-day politics. Like, while I absolutely think that stuff is important, at the end of the day? What really matters on the grand scale of the universe and all that stuff? And that's where the balance comes in. Zig said, psychedelics play a huge role in understanding and opening up another level of consciousness. Yeah, I don't think that while you aware is saying you could do it. I disagree that you could simply choose to. Again, this goes back to an understanding of how to do that, how to choose that. I agree with you that one can choose that, but you have to have an understanding that that is available, just like what Zippy is saying. If you don't know that that is what the state that you want to be in, then you can't get there. Multivox, I recently got diagnosed with ADHD, and I've relied 100% on external validation. I masked my authenticity. Well, there you go. I'm starting to hear that, but glad you can be more authentic. Yeah, that was rough. Sus. Carl said, another dysfunctional philosopher who wants to deconstruct society because societal expectations make him unhappy. Am I wrong? No, I don't think so. I don't think so at all. Yeah, exactly. It's very close to existentialism, for sure.
Shows our human awareness of death and feeling guilt. The novel has 3 deaths, one natural, one illegal murder, and one legal murder or execution. The first death, the death of his mother, arouses little in Marceau. He's also indifferent to the second death, which he causes. But when
I'm going to assume this is a joke, but that's hilarious. If you're dead serious, I think that's even funnier. Exactly. Existentialism doesn't allow for transcendence.
When it comes to his own execution, he finally wakes up and is completely lucid. Evolutionarily speaking, humans are perhaps the only species aware of its own death, which heightens our sense of consciousness. As Martin Heidegger, the German philosopher, said, the awareness of death makes human life authentic and meaningful.
You've asked an interesting question. How do you define authentic success? Well, it depends on what your purpose is. And so if you're asking me, as I said before, spreading my message and changing the political landscape so that we can have a better society, that would be authentic success for me to, not compromise on any values and get that done. But it may be very different for somebody else. Means that sucking the blood out of infants is the only way to get top quality adrenochrome. I should not have said that out loud. But let's just move on.
Albert Camus echoes that argument that death brings clarity to our lives and makes us more conscious to live a fuller life. The second issue in the novel is guilt. Marceau is on trial for the murder, but
so now we're on the second issue of The Stranger.
The focus is mainly on him not crying at his mother's funeral. Camus, perhaps just like his later compatriot Michel Foucault, was pointing out that modernity replaced physical punishment with psychological punishment. The pre-modern world generally punished criminals through physical ordeals, while the modern legal system stopped physical punishment for the most part and instead introduced psychological punishment by making sure one feels guilt. This is perhaps due to the modern man being too rational. Marceau is an honest man who confesses to the murder without going through the Raskolnikov ordeal in Crime and Punishment. But his confession is not enough, so the prosecution tries to break Marceau's indifference, icy interior by making him feel guilty. So Camus says to be a modern man is not to be free, as his fellow writer Sartre said, but to be guilty and cry.
And that brings us back to authenticity. Bonzig said in Buddhism, nirvana is the highest state that you can attain, but none of us have the luxury of just chilling. Yep. If only life was that simple. Exactly. That's the human condition, right? But we're here.
To be a modern man is not to be free, as his fellow writer Sartre said, but to be guilty and cry. Modernity on a fundamental level is an attempt to tame nature to benefit humans. But modernity also wants to domesticate men and break their spirit by making them accept guilt, feel vulnerable, and cry. So during the trial, all the effort was on making sure Marceau felt guilt. Not so
I don't know, but either way, I'm not having a good time.
much for the murder, but for not crying at his mother's funeral. Today, if men don't cry or show vulnerability or emotions, they are sometimes labeled as toxically masculine. Marceau's indifference or carefree attitude towards others makes him dangerous to society.
Well, then that's not masculine behavior, because if it was dangerous to society, then that's not masculine. Masculinity inherently is something that is beneficial. So if you're being toxically masculine, that just means you're not being masculine.
Masculine. Marceau's indifference or carefree attitude towards others makes him dangerous to society. One has to tame him. By depicting Marceau as a complex character, Camus recognized that making him feel guilty is a process of taming the wild animal, turning a wolf into a domestic dog. While it makes society safer, it can also break the spirit of others.
I'm with you, Bonsig. I definitely understand the perspective of like, hey, it is what it is, and there's beauty in the moment and all of that stuff. But you are not going to get me to be that detached from the circumstances around. I think in order to yes, of course, the now is the most important, but that doesn't mean the next moment doesn't matter. And again, when we come to balance, if you're only focusing on this very moment, then that sounds like hedonism to me. There has to be some thought to how is this going to affect even just me personally in the future. And that's not easy. That is not easy. Multivog said, if you're seeking validation and acknowledgement from solely external sources, you aren't being authentic. Correct? Correct. An absolute small no. Okay, so Zippy, if you got more, let us know.
Into a domestic dog. While it makes the society safer, it can also break the spirit of others. When a person is on trial, the focus is not on him, but others, making him an example to others. Judicial process is less about punishing the criminal on trial, but more about taming the rest of society through fear of punishment. Marceau is not tamed. Guilt doesn't tame a man. Even death doesn't tame him. Death makes you realize you're not a stranger, just like everyone else, just another human being understanding and anticipating death. He understands that he's no different from his mother. Knowing that he's connected to others by experiencing death is liberating and finally brings him happiness. He's part of a bigger picture.
It's different, but same. Different, but same. You know.
The Plague published in 1947 is also
I'm with Multivox here. Play that out, please.
Set in Algeria in the town of Oran, where people are confronted with a plague epidemic caused by rats. It's a bit of Kafkaesque novel about how individual humans are at the mercy of their fate and society, and how death is cruel and random.
So now I'm on to the second novel, The Plague.
The novel starts with scores of death rats appearing on the street.
Okay, we can definitely do this. So where production said life is now. Why bother to think ahead to the end, which is not what I said, when the path is now. The path absolutely is now. But if I have to get up for something tomorrow to maintain that whatever state that I want to maintain, then I have to prepare today, because what would be in the now, what would make me the happiest, was getting a lot more drunk and saying a lot of things that would probably get me in trouble. But the problem is that I don't want that consequence. Are you saying that people shouldn't think about the consequences of their actions? That's thinking ahead. Why think ahead? So that you don't end up in very bad positions because you weren't thinking ahead. Bunkmaster says, Stephen, we all know life is magical because of unicorns and fairies. Of course. Different, but still same. Steven said, live in the now. Don't put off till tomorrow what you can put off till the day after that. I said dilly dilly to that. Where so you can think about it, but it's just a fiction. Until it's not. Today, we would not be here right now if I didn't think ahead. What should we cover on Philosophy Friday? And so it was a fiction when I thought of it, but now it's the reality. And you are now here. I have created this moment for you. I mean, not like in a God way, but like just by choosing this and thinking ahead, we are all able to have this conversation now, which I'm enjoying. And so I want to create things to make sure that each now moment is as good as it can be. If you're only focused on the now, then that now is going to be, trust me, I spent 5 years as a drug addict. You focus on the now and nothing else, you're going to have a good time until you don't. Carl said, if universities are teaching kids to think like Camus, it explains a lot about our society. Elaborate, please. Elaborate. Awareness when it's not, and when it's not a fiction, it becomes now. Exactly. But like Von Zig is saying, failure to plan is planning to fail. What you mean? Hey, thank you, sir. Did you foretell this? I mean, not directly, but yes, that is precisely what I did. I'm like, we should have a good conversation. What should we converse about? Well, I like absurdism. And so we the last, this is actually Philosophy Friday 11, but the first 10, we just went through a specific playlist. And I planned that because I knew that would be good for 10 different streams to not only entertain you guys, all get us a better understanding of what philosophy is. And so absolutely I did. A Clockwork Orange is very much in the style of Camus. I don't necessarily disagree. But I think that that is ignoring. I don't know how to phrase this. I'm going to come back to this because I don't fully disagree. But there's something else there. I don't know. I'm coming back to it. Something along that. Yeah, something along that. But yeah, something somewhere in there. Planning is always a failure. Okay. I mean, I agree to disagree.
Society and how death is cruel and random. All this.
Wait. What do you mean I'm never correct? I'm correct. Right? Are you not enjoying this conversation? Because I foretold that people would enjoy this conversation. And that was a fiction at the time. But now, we're in the now. Are you not having fun? My plan didn't fail. Shout out to Calls Frosted Tips. Welcome to the party. Is that a new profile pic? I can only guess who's in there. Welcome to the party. Good to see you. Stephen Colbert said, what's so cool about absurdism is you can get into a philosophically into it in a philosophically technical way, or just load another bong. Exactly. Right now, right at this very moment, I am succeeding at my plan. My plan was to cover this video and we all have a good time. And that's happening. I planned that. And it is now happening right at this moment. Shout out to Wilder Watkins. Welcome to the party. Was I the cover for Just for Men? No, but hey, Just for Men, if you want to give me a deal, I will model the shit out of this salt and pepper. Although this is all natural, but they don't need to know that. Welcome to the party. All right, let's dive back in here.
Humans are at the mercy of their fate, and society and how death is cruel and random. The novel starts with scores of death rats appearing on the streets of Oran. Then the first human death, and soon more deaths follow.
I don't know what this means.
There's panic, but the authorities try to downplay the seriousness of the situation.
But you're like, I did not say anything about I did not ignore anything about what you're talking about, a vessel of a sea of high powers. We did not address that. You asked me if my plan has succeeded. I planned to talk about this, and it has succeeded. That's what those words mean.
More deaths follow. There's panic, but the authorities try to
Again, that I understand that this is your position, and I'm going to respectfully disagree.
Downplay the seriousness of the situation. Once the death toll rises, the town gates are closed. Nobody can come in or get out, turning the city into a giant prison. How do people react? When life is good, everyone is good. When things go south, the real people come out. Some characters, like the doctor, genuinely try to help people, while the priest uses the opportunity to spread his religious belief by blaming people's sins for the plague. Criminals get rich by finding underground routes, smuggling people in and out of town. You throw a plague at them, and humans use the situation to benefit themselves.
And Zippy says it feels like Camus with an S. Camus is more focused on making people more self-aware and independent of top-down nonsense. Does not feel like he's reducing. Does not feel like he is reducing. I don't know what that says, but this is. I mean, I think they would say yes, and I would say yes as well. And so that's again that I don't have an issue with seeking external things. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's a bad thing to put that above your own internal validation. That is my position on that. If your goal is to accept whatever happens, you will always succeed. Sure, but. I mean, yeah, again, I don't disagree, but I don't necessarily want what just will happen. Wilder said Camus can do, but Sartre was smarter. Hey, dilly, I like that. I do like Sartre, but I don't know. I think I don't know if I would pick one. I don't know if I would pick one over the other. Bonze said tactics, strategy, forecasting. That's all part of planning and vital. I agree. The stranger accepts his future. Yeah, and again, theoretically, I agree with that. But practically, just going about life and only focusing on the now, I have found is not a good way to live. As I've done both. I was in a situation where I could not eat, but for the dollar menu that I paid for with coins, because I had chosen in very many moments to not plan ahead and to just do the thing in the now. That's not good. Stephen Colbert said, if I was an OF model, my name would be Cam Ho. I like that. Aware said, so you will inflict your will on others to fulfill your plan. Absolutely. To what degree? Am I going to hurt you? Of course not. But am I going to vigorously argue my position? Absolutely. Is there a problem with that? Mollybox said, seeking external validation is definitely dangerous. No, it's not. I disagree. It's prioritizing seeking external validation over internal validation.
Except the journalist, who is ironically a stranger.
The future will happen whether you plan it or not. But what happens in the future is going to be different based on what you choose. Now, we can take a step back. I do not believe that free will exists. I believe that whatever happens is already a physical and electrical chemical thing. But all of that is that is where the notion of consciousness comes in. That by making these choices, even if they're not completely free choices, as Sam Harris would say, they are free in the way that Dan Dennett would say, and that makes us very different than any other animal, and therefore a very good reason to I forgot what I was going to say, but less no distraction of other plant. I don't know what that means. And what is this priority based on? Logic and reason, and talking to other people who have tried to give me logic and reason that failed.
A visitor in town, so he tries to escape the city to see his wife. When he gets a chance to escape the fire, he cannot bring himself to see others suffer, while he can be free. He is the polar opposite of Meursault. He realized that his own happiness would be tainted if others aren't happy. So by him staying in town, Camus shows a glimpse of humanity, a light at the end of the tunnel kind of hope. As time passes, things get worse. People who try to flee town are shot dead. People are physically and psychologically exhausted. After almost a year, things improve. But the town has changed forever, and those who survived the plague are no longer the same people. In the play, Camus looks at the relationship between the individual and the collective. Is society a bunch of individuals, or are we connected on a deeper level? Can we be individually happy when we see others suffer? The novel is an allegory of the German occupation of France in 1940s. Just like the danger of Nazism, when the town gets the news of the plague, first they ignore, but by the time they realize, it's too late. Germany has occupied France, and the plague has taken over the town of Oran. Individual French people could lead a happy life if they fled France or accepted or collaborated with the Germans. However, Camus says that individual happiness is somewhat shameful because of profoundly deeper connection between humans. Self-sacrifice is deeply embedded in nature. Parents sacrifice for their children, soldiers for their country.
I mean, what about that? What about that notion? I'll come back to this multi-box. So what about the notion of sacrificing for your children and doing things to make sure that your child has a good life? Is that not planning and seeking? That's bad. It's better to have a child and then just go with it.
When life is peaceful, we forget.
Oh, and multi-box. It said, relying on external validation for self-worth can undermine self-esteem and perpetuate a cycle of people-pleasing behavior. But you are saying non-reliance is fine. What? Relying on external validation for self-worth can undermine self-esteem and perpetuate a cycle of people-pleasing behavior. Sure. But you're saying non-reliance is fine. Yeah, definitely. I think that again, it comes down to what is it that you want to do? What is it that you want what is the purpose of your existence that you get to choose? And so if, depending on what that is, if you don't have to rely on anyone for that, then you're good. And this is talking after you've already come to the awareness that true happiness is coming from inside. But with that understanding, you still go out and live your life and do things and make choices. You have the agency to do that, even though I believe that cosmically that's already been written. That's not how we experience the universe. We experience time and space, and so I think it's yeah, absolutely. Carl said, lots of people believe free will doesn't exist. I think it's a mix of predestination with certain junctures where we make choices that change our lives. I mean, yeah, and not to go down the whole road of free will, but the concept there of making choices that change our lives, we absolutely have the agency to make those choices, but the reasons that we make those choices are out of our control. So we feel a decision-making process, but I don't believe that is actually what is occurring. All right, let's dive back in.
In nature. Parents sacrifice for their children, soldiers for their country. When life is peaceful, we forget this. But when we face a real trial, we rise up to the challenge and find that there is greater purpose than saving our own arse. At the beginning, the plague turned saints into sinners and sinners into saints. But as time passed, the cream rose to the top. Camus shows that we are not static human beings, but human becoming, as Nietzsche said. Our circumstance dictates a lot of what we are, but at the core, we cannot be happy when we see others bleed. This only comes at a time of crisis. When peacetime, we bicker over petty things, but when there's a genuine social crisis, some rise up to become greater than themselves.
Again, I don't know if you get to choose. You get to choose if you want to come here and see what's going on. You get to choose if you care what I think of you or not. You get to choose. I mean, that's up to you. If you're here trying to get validation from me, then I mean, if you say some cool shit, then I'll validate it. But if you're just here to have an interesting conversation, then that's cool too. It's not up to me what the reasons that you're here. That is the entire point. The reason that you are here is up to you. Except for the fact that you didn't choose those reasons. Agency and will. Guantek, so what is a calculation other than planning ahead?
Bingo.
Yeah. So is this a two-part thing? Are we here just to have you validate us, or are you just another chatter who happens to be on screen? I don't think they're mutually exclusive. You are just another chat. I mean, I don't know what your face looks like. I don't know your name. I don't know anything about you, but I'm engaging with you and I think on a pretty deep level. But if you feel that you, by being here, that I'm trying to make you act as if you need my ballot, then that's you. That's not you. I didn't say anything about that. I just said, hey, let's talk about some cool shit.
But when there's a genuine social crisis, some rise up to become.
Guess how YouTube works? You start with 0 subscribers. That's how it works. Everybody on YouTube starts with 0 subscribers. So the only way to get to a place where you have 4,500 subscribers is to consistently grind and grind and grind and grind and grind when nobody is watching. So absolutely yes. The answer is yes. You are intrinsically motivated. If not, you are extrinsically motivated. Yeah, I would agree. But yeah, that's absolutely a core of why people do, and that's why you see people fall off, because they think that, it's a common thing for bigger YouTubers and streamers and whatever to make it seem like, oh, it's so easy. Like, yeah, it's easy once you make it, but getting up there is not for the weak. Now, of course, I'm not saying I'm not working roofs out in the sun or some shit, but relative. Aware said, I don't care, but I'm here. I don't care about your validation. Is your motive I'm interested in. My motive is to spread these ideas so that people have a better ability to understand different perspectives, and that whatever the thing that you think doesn't have to be the exact thing that other people think. And it doesn't mean it's wrong. It doesn't mean it's right. It just means that people are different, and that's okay. And that's never going to not be the case. People will always be different. And we need to be able to communicate with people who are different and think differently. That is my motive. That is my motive. What else we got here? Are metaphysics real, tangible, or are they a philosophical canard, a quirk of the mind, an abstraction of how your brain processes reality, and supernatural at worst? Well, it's definitely not supernatural, because that word doesn't make any sense. Things either exist or they don't exist. If they do exist, then they're natural. And if they don't exist, well, then they're not natural. But the rest of that, I mean, I think the answers to these are not, like, it's okay to just say I don't know. Like, we're not at a place where we have clear answers on these. So the frustrating part about, again, bringing it back to the political realm, is how strong Christianity is in on the right with politics. And the fact of the matter is that there's just too many people who have those values that don't believe in those things. And so, again, it's just, I don't know. I don't know. See, it says a valid argument to say someone shouldn't seek validation. Apparently to them, I would say no. I would say no, that absolutely you should seek validation. You should just make sure that no matter what, your own internal validation has a higher priority. Maybe it sounds like y'all would disagree, but we'll see. Paul said, according to the dead internet theory, none of you people are even real. So, dilly to that. Very, very possible. Very possible. When you're paralyzed and you say it's invalid to seek validation as an invalid. Good one. Nick says, what matters more, the motivation or the result? Well, again, it depends on what we're talking about. If we're talking about me, then I would say that the result matters more, because it's not about me. It's not about me. And so if I do everything that I can, then I've fulfilled that motivation. I've done that. And so that's good. But as much as that would be a fulfilling life, I would much prefer to have that and also have the result that I'm looking for. Yep. Again, I've not said anything negative about that external stuff. You guys I understand that you guys think that external validation is a bad thing, or is something that you just should not care about. I just happen to disagree. I did not say that, but if it exists, then it's not supernatural. That's what I said.
Greater than themselves. The Fall. Published in 1956, The Fall is the last complete novel by Albert Camus. The story is a confession of a fallen judge, set not in warm Algeria, but in the cold of Paris and Amsterdam.
That's numero tres, The Fall.
Clemence is a lawyer in Paris. He's at the top of his game. He has got money, fame, and power. But one night, he witnesses a woman committing suicide by jumping into the river. He does nothing to stop or...
Again, bro, like, you're asking all these... I don't know. Maybe I am. Maybe I am. I don't have any reason to think that I am. But I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
Intervene. He goes home and forgets it. Days go by, then weeks, then months and years, but the incident has left a dent in him, a hole.
Oh, well, thank you very, very much. I appreciate that. But, being awesome doesn't pay the bills. And again, back to that planning ahead, I would like to remain living indoors.
Hole in his soul or being. Despite his best effort to forget it, he feels something inside. Every time there's a negative incident happening to him, he goes back.
All right. So I'm going to put this up just to say it because we have some new people here. But on this channel, we do not attack people. We attack ideas. Please be respectful and attack ideas, not people. You could go hard on whatever you want. Just be respectful.
Effort to forget it, he feels something inside. Every time there's a negative incident happening to him, he goes back to that night. A kind of superstition, like a cancer cell, grows inside him that all the negative things that happen to him can be attributed to his failure to do the right thing that night.
Congratulations, Wilder.
Helping the woman. It gets to the point that he questions himself. His whole life has been nothing but selfish. Every good deed he has done has been for his own selfishness. Not only that, he also wanted to inflict terrible things onto others. At least he thought about inflicting pain onto others.
Quantag said it seems that some of us are obsessed with convincing the rest of us that what will be, will be. Therefore, they plan to enforce their will upon us to spread a message they believe is true. Dilly. And while we're at it, projection. Irony is pleasant.
To inflict terrible things onto others. At least he thought about inflicting pain onto others. His shiny surface life hides a sinister and dark hidden side where he's nothing but a terrible person, just like in Oscar Wilde's novel The Picture of Dorian Gray.
Never.
Upon realization, his whole shiny castle of himself crumbles inside him. He stops working. Soon he can no longer keep it. Tolstoy said, disillusioned men join wars. He considers joining the French resistance against the German, but sees no point in that.
Did somebody say something about pretending? I don't think anybody said anything about pretending. Zippy said, what will be, will be. And you also fall out of a coconut tree. Oh my God, you guys are on fire tonight. On fire. I can't. I gotta. Dilly. On fire. Let's dive back in. Actually, guys, again, I'm just gonna ask you a quick favor and just hit that share button. It's so easy, it's free, and it doesn't even matter if anybody's gonna click on it. It tells YouTube that this is where it's at, and it will push it out to more people. So if we could do that, I would be very, very, very much appreciative.
He decides to flee Paris for London, but takes a bizarre Selenist route through North Africa where the issue of religion and God come into focus. But despite him concluding that God is truly dead and life is truly meaningless, he comes to a deeper realization that to be human in modern time is to be, you guessed it, guilty.
Guilty! And I love this from Wilder. It says the heat death of the universe is absurd. Being an absurdist doesn't mean that you act absurd. It just means that you acknowledge and accept the absurd, absurd, and choose to derive meaning out of nothing. Bingo! There you go. Pretentious is an adjective form of pretend. Is it? I don't think that's true. That's never how. Attempting to impress by affecting greater importance than is actually possessed. Again, I mean, the point is, like, are you trying to prove yourself? Like you're asking me about, hey, the only reason you're here is you want my validation? It seems like you just came here to get my validation and other people's validation. Because again, we're learning and we're trying to learn and having a conversation. And you're just saying, nope, you're wrong. This is what it is. This is wrong. And you're not offering anything except I know better than you. So I can't control what people's perspectives of you are. Multivox, are you confusing external validation with the success of your channel because your channel would be good regardless? No, I'm not confusing anything. I I do not want to have a good channel that nobody sees, because that is not a good use of my time. I could get my message out in other ways if I were going to do that. The goal is to reach people, to have my message and present it to them and say, hey, do you think this is a good idea? And so, no, if my channel was not growing, then it's not an effective way to get my message out. So it's not about clout. It's not about money. It's not about that. The purpose is getting the message out. And so right now, given my I guess, financial situation, this is the best way that I can build a platform to get that message out. I started with just a laptop and this microphone. And now, I got a higher quality camera. We got lights everywhere, all that stuff. And that's not to get me more money, although I do need more money to continue going. That's not the purpose. And so again, if we talk about money and we talk about external validation, both of those things can, have a mirror here. While money is not the end goal here, money is absolutely a necessary part of doing this. If I want to get my message out, which is my top priority, if I want my message to be out, then required in that is money coming in to help build this, because time is, at least for humans, finite and only moves in one direction. So if I'm not spending time here building that, exactly, dude, I appreciate that, but like you're questioning whether I want to do this when not a single one of you has spent a cent. I am doing this for free right now. I'm doing this for free right now, and that's totally cool. This is a free show. But that's what I'm saying. What do you mean? Come on, I am here. I am doing this. I don't know. I don't know what it is that you want. I don't know what it is that you're looking for.
To a deeper realization that to be human in modern time is to be, you guessed it, guilty. Yes, a modern man is always condemned to be guilty. It's nothing to do with a religion or God. It comes from within. That's where the novel ends. On the outside, he lived a successful life, but it was his own deeper psyche that turned against him, just like in Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment. Raskolnikov's own inner torment forced him to confess that sealed his fate. The guilt of not saving the woman, our hero is forever
right. Again, for the 17th time, I do not have an issue with external motivation.
Condemned to feel guilty. You only get one chance in life. Such is the cruelty of existence. One mistake will follow you for the rest of your life, like some dark shadow at night. I think the novel shows Camus' own.
Yes, it is free to gain entry, but it's not free for me to keep all of this up. It is free for you to get the end product here. But there's a lot of time and effort and work that goes into the free product that you are consuming right now. Okay. How does that help me? If I'm not getting any money, then it doesn't really matter. And I also paid for those books. So what are we talking about? I don't know. Okay. I'm done. I don't know what you're trying to do. I don't know what you're trying to do. I don't get it. Just give me the bottom line. What is it that you want? What is it that you want? Because clearly you're just trying to win. I would rather have a conversation, but if you just want to win, then okay, you win, I'm wrong, you're good, I'm bad. I don't care.
Mistake will follow you for the rest of your life, like some dark shadow at night.
Hey, shout out to Zippy DSM Lee with the $5 Rumble rant. I don't even want it. This is bad. Never do that. And of course, let's get this out of the way. Of course. A treat for Morty. There we go. Thank you, sir. And of course, that makes you a new co-sponsor of the stream. Very, very, very much appreciated.
Cruelty of existence. One mistake will follow you for the rest of your life, like some dark shadow at night. I think the novel shows Camus' own struggle with women. He was married, but also had affairs, which must have made him feel guilty. Nature has dealt men a bad, but extremely horny card. 2 sacks producing millions of sperms daily who want to get out. And once they're out, you have to deal with the consequences, the guilt that comes after. Here's a quote. I simply...
Shout out again to our sponsors, Funk Master General and our boy Zippy DSM Lee. Very, very, very much appreciated. While there's says I'm more of a conversation guy than a debate guy. I could go either way. I'm definitely down for a debate, but I would like us to come to the table and say, okay, we're going to debate. This is what we're doing. If you're trying to have a conversation with somebody and they turn it into a debate, I'm not really a fan of that, but I will get heated. We especially over in the Discord community with the voice chat, the after party. We get pretty wild. And we definitely are passionate about the things that we're saying and may get into debate. But there is an understanding that no matter what, we're passionate about the issues. We're not trying to, again, win anything. It's about having the conversation, not trying to win. Nope, I didn't read them. I just bought them and I just sit them on the test because they look pretty. Why would I read them? Is that what you're supposed to do with books? You're supposed to read them?
They took refuge among women. As you know, they don't really condemn any weaknesses. They would be more inclined to...
We are promoting intrinsic drive, authenticity, and self-validation. Am I wrong? No. Like, what do you mean? I've said that 7 million times. Where's the confusion? I said self-validation should be at the top, and that external validation is totally fine and necessary. And planning goes with that. Two things could be true at the same time. Promoting intrinsic drive, authenticity, and self-validation is not incompatible with understanding the value of external validation, is it? I mean, this just came in, so I'm going to assume that's okay. And again, I heard you the first time. I just disagree. You could say it over and 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 over. But I already understand what you're saying, and I disagree with it. Shout out to Dietrich. Welcome to the party. He said, books are for chumps. We learn good, not in paper, but I don't even know what that's supposed to be. Word, welcome to the party.
They took refuge among women. As you know, they don't really condemn any weaknesses. They would be more inclined to try to humiliate or disarm our strength. This is why woman is the reward, not of the warrior, but of the criminal. She is his harbor, his heaven. It's in a woman's bed that he is generally arrested. Is she not all that remains to us of earthly paradise? In The Stranger, Camus' protagonist, Merceau, was guilty of killing someone, but also not for crying at his mother's funeral. But in The Fall, the protagonist is guilty not for his action, but for his inaction. So, to be or not to be, or to do or not to do, either way, you're doomed. So not only we are guilty for what we do, we're also guilty for what we do not do.
And that, I think that really goes back to, again, the idea of choice.
Now I'll discuss two of his most famous essays.
Wow, there said, just have to shout out my bro, Sergeant Rock Ram Jet. He just had a kid, and we had a big party on the driveway. Sorry for making you clean up the mess. Shout out to Sergeant here. Dilly.
We do not do. Now I'll discuss two of his most famous essays.
All right, so we're moving on from the novel.
The Myth of Sisyphus. The Myth of Sisyphus is a philosophical essay by Albert Camus published in 1942 in which he introduces his philosophy of absurdism. Sisyphus was a Greek titan who was condemned to push a boulder up a mountain. The boulder would fall down and he would have to go back down and push it up the mountain. A process he repeats forever without any hope of change or stop, showing the futility and absurdity of life. Absurdism simply means we humans seek meaning or purpose in life, but the universe has no answer for it. Since there is no meaning to be found outside, ending one's life is the only logical conclusion. If life has no meaning, then why live? But being human, the kind of creature...
And again, that's where you get to the existentialists and I was just why? Why ever you wanted to.
Life is the only logical conclusion. If life has no meaning, then why live? But being human, the kind of creature we are not satisfied with the absurd. So according to Camus, we have three options.
All right, three options.
1, to find freedom by manufacturing hope, like Dostoevsky or Franz Kafka's novels. But this manufactured hope goes against the absurd, which is in essence negates future hope. The second option is to revolt and conquer power, wealth, or territory, but unfortunately, they don't last very long. Just as you gain them, they can also be taken away. The third option is passion, to live a full life, but it too is temporary and fleeting.
Passion. I already forget what was the first one?
Is an light or so Tchaikovsky or Franz Kafka's novels. But this manufactured revolt and conquers by man if not satisfied with the absurd. If life has no there's no meaning to be found outside, ending one's life is the only logical conclusion. If life has no meaning, then why live? But being human, the kind of creature we are not satisfied with the absurd. So according to Camus, we have three options. One, to find freedom.
There we go. Find freedom. That's the first one.
Taken away. The third option is future hope. The second option is to revolt.
So freedom. And then the second one is revolt and conquer power, wealth, or territory.
Revolt and conquer power, wealth, or territory. But unfortunately, they don't last very long.
Yep. So he says, if only the existentialists would stop asking why and worrying and get back to living, they would not suffer so.
Bingo!
Just as you gain them, they can also be taken away. The third option is passion, to live a full life, but it too is temporary and fleeting.
Passion definitely is fleeting, but I think, again, if we talk about the understanding the future and not putting that over the present, then that which you have passion for you can extend that. You can be passionate about something and create something else to be passionate about. Multivox said, I think you must have bulletproof self-worth, which I admire, but for some of us, seeking external validation is like a drug. For some people, doing drugs is a drug. For some people, drinking alcohol is like a drug. But I don't have those issues with I'm not addicted to alcohol. So if you are addicted to alcohol, then yes, I would say don't drink at all. That's probably a good idea. And in the same way, if you're not addicted to external validation, then I don't see a problem with it. If you are, then hell yeah, stay away from it. But we haven't established that.
In a way.
Indeed. Cured from Christianity. Hell
yeah.
The
third option is passion, to live a full life.
True.
But it too is temporary and fleeting. Camus' ultimate answer is to understand and accept the absurdity of life like Sisyphus. Every time he goes down to get the boulder, he understands the futility of his life, but he accepts it. He doesn't stop, but he pushes the boulder for eternity.
Eternity. So in case you missed the story and you're not familiar, then this guy's entire life is just to push this boulder up a mountain, and then either it rolls down the other side or just rolls back, and that's his whole life. That's his whole life. But he doesn't stop. He just does it because what else is there to do? What else is there to do? Dietrich said, Maui? Who's Maui? I never thanked you. The amount of pompous sensationalism you exude really makes me consider what in the fuck is it? I'm going to assume that's to somebody else. Good point, but you said external validation is necessary. Necessary for my purpose.
Bingo.
Absolutely it is. Absolutely it is. Bonzig said self-esteem issue. With enough confidence, you wouldn't need external validation. Again, all the confidence in the world is not going to pay my bills. I just said just sit on the boulder, but I mean that's boring. Even if you didn't know this story, put a random person in this situation. There's literally nothing to do. You're stuck in this one spot. There's a boulder and there's a mountain. You could sit there and waste away and twiddle your thumbs, or you push a boulder, passes the time. Oh, we're talking. Okay. We're talking about. Okay. No, thank you for the. I remember him. He was too aware. Now I'm lost. I'm lost. Yeah, right. Ride the boulder. At least you get you ride it the way down. Make a little saddle and a little ball bearing, and you're good to go. You're good to go. I don't know. I don't. Who's the source of this purpose? I would assume me. I don't think there's anyone else in my head, but maybe there's some cosmic thing that is inherent, and I'm wrong about all of this. Maybe. Like you keep trying to trap me, and I'm not trapped.
the futility of his life, but he accepts it. He doesn't stop, but he pushes the boulder for eternity. Life, in essence, is absurd, contradictory, and futile. But for that absurdity, contradiction, and futility to exist, human life is necessary. In other words, because life is absurd, it gives us the
No. You asked me if so I said, what did you say? I said external validation is necessary for what? Did I say necessary for everybody? Or did I say necessary for my goals? Which one of those did I say? Because I told you to stop seeking external validation if it's a drug, but it's necessary to succeed in life, or can you self-validate instead? So if it's again, we'll use the, because again, I don't have a problem with drugs. So let's replace drug with addiction. Let's say the addiction to external validation is the bad thing, because drugs aren't inherently bad. So yes, if you are addicted to seeking external validation, then you should work on not needing that. If you are not addicted to it, then your life can be benefited by other people investing time, money, effort. Like I don't think this is. It's weird to me that this is so foreign to you. This is just like living life and doing stuffs. I'm not really sure what the confusion is. Nietzsche says purpose is not an entity created by one being. It is the enthusiasm of progress and the self-appointment in one to achieve. Bingo. There you go. Okay. What please elaborate. At what point are you addicted? When you put that as your top priority. So you can say it depends on the person and their personality type and how much external validation is optimal. Exactly.
ability to exist, human life is necessary. In other words, because life is absurd, it gives us the impetus to continue living. The alternative would be a religious view of the afterlife and heaven, which negates this life as meaningless.
So do you not work then?
As I said earlier, if babies go straight to heaven, then this life is not worth living. So Camus argues that the absurdity of this life makes it even more worth living. For Camus, life's happiness is not its meaning or purpose, but in the struggle of life itself. In other words, we find joy not in life.
So where I'm going to assume you have a channel of some. Is this what you? Is this your main source of income, or what? I'm curious about, because I mean, I think we can all agree that jobs suck, but people still work them for a reason.
Being easy or straight path. Instead, our truest joy comes from life being struggle, contradiction, and absurd. Camus concludes, quote, the struggle itself is enough to fill a man's heart. One must imagine Sisyphus happy. Why? Because he accepts the absurdity of life. The Rebel. The Rebel is another philosophical essay by Albert Camus published in 1951.
Oh, all right. So we're moving on to The Rebel. I bet you do.
Here too, Camus tries to answer the inherent injustice of the world. Despite being an atheist, Camus inherits a deep Christian value of universal justice from Marxism. I've said this before, Marxism is a materialist reinterpretation of Christianity, as they both emphasize a future utopia with universal equality and justice. So in this essay, Camus tries to bridge the huge gap between...
I mean, Multibox, are you okay with him speaking for you?
Marx and Nietzsche. Marx argued that material inequality is the root cause of all social evils. So we must rebel to correct this by creating a just and equal society where everyone has equal share of the material resources.
Nah, I'm good.
Nietzsche, however, argued, forget about injustice and equality. We need...
Okay, so what? So what is your? What do you do for your main source of income?
Need a hierarchical...
Like this is, I mean, I guess you would call this a hobby now, because this isn't my main source of income. I'm a dog trainer, which is my full-time job, and then I spend more time doing this anyway. But that's that's how I bring in money, because I need food, I need shelter, I need to spend $5,000 to make sure he doesn't die from his fluid in his lungs.
Nietzsche, however, argued, forget about injustice and equality. We need a
Hey, I win! Hey, yeah! See, I love when we can have these conversations, and even if we come from very different perspectives, then we can be able to look at somebody else and say, "Oh, I don't think that way, but it makes sense that you do." And that's the goal. So I did, in fact, foretell this. I am God!
material resources. Nietzsche, however, argued, forget about injustice and equality. We need a hierarchical society that allows geniuses to flourish and be creative.
Based.
For Nietzsche, an egalitarian
Of course, anybody can be a YouTuber. You just gotta start talking while the camera's on.
society punishes.
All right. You want to do this? Let's see my my first video ever. Just a quick aside. This is from September 15th, 2021. This is my first thing ever. Yeah, that was before I was even the Indian Jesus. All right. So I'm sitting right here. No lights. No lights in front or behind. No stuff on the thing here. Just sitting there. All of this space above my head. So welcome to the inaugural episode of I Didn't Read Your Book. Today we are going to be talking to John Anderson about his book, The Price of Salvation. You couldn't memorize that, bro? But before we bring him in, let's read the back of the book. An old-fashioned telling of an outlaw in the West. The Price of Salvation follows Thomas St. Hart and his gang, the brother of Baudelaire. I'm going to have to ask for clarification on that pronunciation. As they face the deadly odds of modernization and are forced to pick between the sides of good and evil. So, I mean, you get the point. The point being that I was not very good, and I think I definitely have a lot of room for improvement still, but I'm definitely better than that guy. Where are we? Winning multi-over must be quite validating. Yeah, I don't care about that, okay? But that's my purpose, is to get people to understand my message. So, either way. Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, and that, I didn't, this, now I have a 4K 1080p camera, and I pay for the full StreamYard thing so that I can get that. That was the top quality that I could get at that time. That was just on my laptop. I didn't even have the boom thing. It was just a little thing. So, you got to start somewhere. And if you don't plan ahead, then this conversation could never have happened. If that guy that you saw in that video did not plan ahead, then we would not be here having this this conversation. That wouldn't really work with the branding. You know what I mean? But yes, when I was younger, I wish I had some of these pictures. It was a thing. It became a thing. And when I was in middle school, we would go, what did I just say? When I was in middle school, when all the Jewish kids were having their bar and bat mitzvahs, that was like, the big, there would be, everybody's turning 13 in the same year. And so I went in with, the first time I went, it was my best friend. And so I went in with Liberty Spikes, and I didn't have long hair, but I just went with the Liberty Spikes, and good times. So I do like the aesthetic of the mohawk, but it doesn't really go with the Indian Jesus.
That allows geniuses to flourish and be creative. For Nietzsche, an egalitarian society punishes geniuses and stifles creativity. For Nietzsche, because nature is highly unjust.
If you think I would ever work with CNN, you need to watch a lot more of my content.
It allows creativity to flourish. Marx wanted to tame nature and society, and Nietzsche, however, wanted to celebrate wild creativity of nature and individual freedom.
Right, huge differences. Marx wanted to tame nature and society.
And Nietzsche, however, wanted to celebrate wild creativity of nature and individual freedom. Towards the end of his life, Camus moved closer to Nietzsche as he was disillusioned with the Marxist revolution that suppressed freedom. But at the same time, he was deeply concerned about social injustice and inequality. He says, the true rebel is not the person who conforms to the orthodoxy of some revolutionary ideology, but a person who could say no to injustice. So Camus finally settled on reform as the best way of rebellion. In other words, Camus wants evolution, not revolution.
Evolution, not revolution. Hell yeah. Well, Levi, this is a great channel. I love Camus. Well, thank you. I do appreciate that. I would love to see what you think about the more political and, for that matter, religious discussions we have. So hit that subscribe. I'm live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and sometimes whenever I feel like it.
Reform as the best way of rebellion. In other words, Camus wants evolution, not revolution. Marxists, for the most part, failed to fully grasp human evolutionary biology. So, to make a revolution successful, brute force was used to bend the human will with some disastrous consequences, killing and imprisoning millions. In other words, a Marxist revolution cannot succeed without a giant prison next door to send those who disagree. So Camus understood that human nature is more geared for evolution and reform, not so much for a bloody revolution. Next, I'll discuss 10 lessons we can learn from Albert Camus from his life and his philosophy conveyed through his fiction as well as non-fiction.
All right, guys, get into the 10 lessons. Guys, we are almost at the 2-hour mark. If you would like to keep the party raging, you know how to do it. And of course, every donation comes with a treat for this poor dog. He can barely breathe. No, he literally couldn't breathe. And he seized out, and he shit on my floor and scared the shit out of me at 4 in the morning. 10 lessons.
Okay, I have already talked about Albert Camus' life, summarized 4 of his novels and 2 essays. Now I'll discuss 10 lessons we can learn from his life as well as his writings. 1. We are all strangers on this planet. Albert Camus was born in Algeria into a French family. You could say he was born in the wrong country. Not just that, his father was French and his mom had a Spanish heritage. He later moved to Paris when it was occupied by the Germans. In some way, he was a stranger in all these places. We humans cannot choose our family, country, language, culture we are born into. For Camus, being a stranger also gave him the opportunity to question his existence, not just his own, but the entire human existence, what it means to be human and what it means to seek meaning in life. His unique cultural background gave him a unique perspective on life. It's no surprise that the title of one of his novels is Stranger. In essence, we're all strangers on this little rock of a planet. We often get bogged down in cultural differences or dividing people into nationalities, gender, or something else. But fundamentally, we're all strangers trying to come to terms with our existence.
A band called The Fall. The Fall. From when? Are they like a newer band, or are they like an older band, or are they like? I'm trying to think. I can't think of it. I think The Fall of Troy. Oh. You just said words are tainted by the poison of the beasts they slay. True. There's a big difference between the natural organic development of language and semantic obfuscation and linguistic creep from the people who have understood the language after it's been obfuscated and now use it improperly. Most are strangers to themselves. Agreed. Shout out to Soft and Num Nums. Welcome to the party. So why you got a GSP with hair smoking a cig on the thumbnail? Shout out to GSP. Oh my God, that's a good one. That is a good one. But that is not GSP. Shout out to GSP. That is Albert Camus, a French philosopher who believes there's no purpose to anything, and that's amazing. Welcome to the party. Okay, Manchester. Interesting. See. We're in the after party. We're gonna check out some of The Fall. We're gonna see what is good. Words do get in the way. We just need that mind meld. Once that happens, then my job is over. Damn, I didn't think about that. If we actually have like a neural net society, there's absolutely no need for what I do. But hey, I'm kind of okay with that, because if we're living in that world, then we good.
Is gender or something else, but fundamentally we're all strangers trying to come to terms with our existence. We are the true aliens in this world. We have no idea where we have come from, how life started, and how it will end. Yet we don't lose sleep over it. It is what it is. So nobody's at home here.
It is what it is. And that, again, is sometimes the all you can do, all you can think, all you can say, all that matters is accepting it is what it is. Sometimes. But even though I don't believe in free will, I do believe in agency. And to just throw your agency out the window because the universe is what it is not going to be as enjoyable. And if you're not sacrificing anything that matters, then why wouldn't you want that enjoyment? That all made no sense.
Started and how it will end. Yet we don't lose sleep over it. It is what it is. So nobody's at home here. Everyone is a stranger.
Everyone is a stranger.
2. Be part of a team. The French Revolution.
We are definitely all tribal. We can try very hard. We can try very hard to not. Shit. Hold on. It's here. I want to show you a moment where I had a mea culpa moment where we were covering the VP debate. And I thought, I was making the comment that JD Vance was doing an amazing job of, connecting with the viewers by looking at the camera and understanding that is a way to relate to people. And I was all on it. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And then
the one thing I didn't realize, this thing that's gone super viral of me kind of doing the Jim from The Office thing, like looking into the camera.
That's what I was thinking. Is like you have to have known. Like, can you believe how easy this is?
But
that's what it seemed like.
It's because I wish I could take credit for it, but it's because I guess the timer is right by the camera. So I was just, I was trying to pay attention to what he's saying, but then you have to be ready for when his time's up, because then it's your turn to speak. And so I was looking at the timer to figure out I was about to speak.
Amazing.
I know.
I don't know,
it
man.
spawned a million viral memes. So,
but not only did I find this and then share it with everybody, but now I played it on stream because, as tribal as I am, I am working to go against that and try to be as objective as possible, understanding that I'm always going to have biases. And I think, again, as long as you biases can be a bad thing, but as long as you are aware of them, or you try to be aware of them, you're going to be better off. And again, this being a this channel, this platform is political before it's philosophical. But it is what it is. The typing is very limited. That is why you should become a member and join the Discord. Or, they know typing thing. Join the Discord for free. It is free. Wrench, where you at? Yeah, you can type all the live long day in Discord. Dietrich said, it is what? It is, but the filter from brain to mouth is severe. Yeah, true. Aware said, for example, we can see Jesus' passion and says more than words. Okay. Zippy. So my mind is filled with TMI, so trying gives me more time to think and sort my words. It's almost like there's not one way to live and think that's right for everybody. Oh, sorry.
2. Be part of a team. The French Revolution had 3 messages: liberty, equality, and fraternity. While freedom and equality have become buzzwords in politics of socialism versus liberalism, but it's a fraternity that's perhaps less understood. It's more psychological. Albert Camus played football as a teenager, but age 17, illness meant he had to live in isolation. This solitude taught him an important lesson. He was happiest when he was part of something bigger than himself, a team, a tribe, or a group with a single aim working together to achieve something big, be it a football game or even winning a war. Quote, everything I know about morality and the obligations of men, I owe it to football. The desire to belong is incredibly strong among us. Despite trying to have a more free and solitary life in today's world, we
Oh yeah, I used to do that a lot more specifically. Shout out to Aware Productions here. Go check out the channel. Go check out Aware Productions. What did I miss here? What did I miss here? Don't get paranoid. Who told you I was paranoid? Am I acting paranoid? Do I seem paranoid? What's going on? Is somebody telling you that I'm paranoid? Carl said, does not believing in free will depress you? No. And if it's true, is anyone really responsible for their actions? Yes. But I'm still working on articulating why. So there is it's in the difference between will and agency. I haven't gotten it yet. It's a constant. It's something I'm always thinking about. But when I first read Sam Harris's book Free Will, I was coming out of that drug addict stage, and it didn't make sense to me, even though it made sense that the concept of there's no space for free will. If the Big Bang happened, then all of the stuffs from that, it's just more chemical, electrical, and physical reactions. There's no room for little old Lutch to decide this or that. There's so much at play that's like saying, I don't know, but yeah, that. And so I would think about the notion of like, why is it that if I don't have free will last week or a year ago, whatever it was, that I don't think that I would be able, if I saw a line of, oxys, that I would not. But right now, at the time I was thinking, I don't want to do that. And that feels like that's my will. But it's just my agency to choose not to do it. And again, I don't necessarily have it figured out. But the answer is no, it doesn't depress me. It is, again, going back to the idea of absurdism, that if I feel like I'm making choices but I'm not, it is what it is. Being depressed isn't going to change the fact. So it's like, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. Audience is what it is. Shout out to the audience. Camus is in a fraternity. That's when he first got his head shaved. Carl said, if I didn't believe in free will, I would feel like an automaton. Kind of are. Prove that you're not. Prove that you're not. Yeah, definitely a good question. And I've been sitting on it for literally a decade trying to figure out how it makes sense. And I'm not there yet. But that's the nature of these larger ideas. That you have to sit with them and let the ideas interact with your experience, and then by continually thinking about the words of it and adding more life experience, it fits into where it's supposed to fit. It was always there. It's just that if you don't understand how to do it. Carl said, if you don't have free will, how can you be responsible? And again, because we have agency. I don't have a better answer for you than that right now. And so I can get as far as free will doesn't make sense and that we have agency. I cannot answer this because I don't know. And again, I think that's okay. I think it's okay to say, yes, it does not make sense that an individual who did not choose where he was born, did not choose anything about himself, could make free choices that you know are that are not affected by things external. Guanteg said, I think free will is just a bad way of describing it. It seems to be more like we act within the bounds of a universe that has set it out already. Like the universe has chosen the building blocks, but we influence what is built within what we were given. Not fully predestined, but not completely free will. That's where I'm at. And you know, you say fair enough, but I am not satisfied with that. I am not satisfied with that. No shade on Guanteg. I'm right on the same page with you, but I need a better. I need to be able to understand it more, and that just takes time to you know think about it. Even your agency is simply a cause and effect event. It feels like agency. That goes further in the other direction, where you're saying that agency or will. They're saying we don't have agency or free will. We are automatons. And again, I don't necessarily think that that's not the case. I think that the answer to the hard question of consciousness is going to be the variable that allows us to understand that. I think the hard question of consciousness is so big when it comes to this stuff that expecting to understand what it is, even if we can understand bits and pieces of it, is not really reasonable at this point in time. Yeah, we're in a sandbox, so we choose what kind of sandcastle is built. Love it. Love it. Love it. I mean, it's enough to Dan Dennett, but no. And again, I'm sorry that I don't have the answer as to why, but no. Wonderbox said, if you're spiritually authentic, you'd be free and empowered wherever you were born, I guess. You'd be free and empowered wherever you were born. Sure. But again, being spiritually free and empowered isn't necessarily the same thing as whatever desired state that there is. And I get that your position is, well, the desired state be damned. I get that. But I just don't subscribe to that. Yeah, and that again, that's the I don't have it yet. Again, I don't have it yet, but there's a difference. There's a difference between will and agency, and I'm working on it.
Belonging is incredibly strong among us. Despite trying to have a more free and solitary life in today's world, we seek comfort when we are part of a team. We want to be picked by others. To compensate for the fact that Camus couldn't play football after his illness, he joined the Communist Party, which is a tribe in itself. Even after he became a famous writer, he continued to work in the theater to stage works by other writers like Dostoevsky and Faulkner. So for Camus, being part of something bigger than yourself with a unified goal gave him fulfillment. Nietzsche's philosophy set forth in Thus Spoke Zarathustra is that of a lone wolf in a mountain cave, but Camus' philosophy is communitarian. Throughout history, men physically and psychologically survived in tribal settings, and the sense of camaraderie brought them together. But in today's world, it is lost, as families and communities have fallen apart. In the workplace, loyalty...
Sure, but we can have families and communities without spreading the wealth like that, right? I mean, redistributing the wealth.
Loyalty and allegiance have become more transactional and less spiritual, which has created loneliness, resulting in an increase in alcoholism, addiction, and consumerism. So being part of something bigger than yourself teaches you loyalty, responsibility, and respect. In return, you feel fulfilled.
All right, number three, guys.
Create art.
Oh, Jesus. We're a creator. That's an interesting phrasing, but we're creators, I think, is a little bit more in line. But let's see how he articulates it. Well, next said, but you're so we're talking about the sandbox, and we're kind of we're in a kind of sandbox. So we choose what kind of castle is built. And where said your chemicals choose what kind of sandcastle you build. In context, but your chemicals aren't just set and that's it. You can even influence those with outside and internal forces. Otherwise, we would barely ever change. True. Again, like context, the context in which we're talking about this stuff matters. And so like, you can believe that, you can talk about how, time is all happening at once and different dimensions and this and that and all these things. But if we're trying to have a substantive conversation about the context of our practical reality that we all share, whether or not that exists or not, then we got to make sure that we're not using a different context to apply ideas to the context that we're talking about.
Albert Camus studied philosophy to become a teacher, but soon found writing to be his vocation. Just like for Franz Kafka, writing allowed him to cope better with the absurdities of life and the absence.
It's really hard not to confuse cause and effect when you literally say cause is effect. So yeah. Where the fuck is the damn thing?
Of meaning, one has to create something. He created 4 major novels and many works of nonfiction. Of course, there's debate whether he was a better philosopher than a novelist, but there's no doubt that through writing fiction, he made a dent in the literary universe, which one.
Yeah, I got a Buddha tattoo right here. I love it. I love Buddhism. Shout out to Ruthless Admin. Welcome to the party. Said, agreeing with Aware Productions, saying rarely hear others figure that out. Oh yeah, really, dude? Zippy, are you on this? What are we doing here? Ooh, you getting reported? Ooh.
Won him the Nobel Prize in Literature. His novels are not meant to be artistic like Proust or thrilling like Dostoevsky, but they make up with philosophical depth. I think Camus also understood storytelling and art are as powerful as food. And I think this shift is attitude towards Marxism and socialism. Marxists have a more utilitarian view of.
Wait, I get it, but okay. So that can there we go. That's what we're looking for. Confucian. I'm sorry, this fucking asshole is. I don't know. We're just gonna move on. Sorry, I don't know. This motherfucker is. Oh, whoa. Look what we got over here. Shout out to Zippy DSMLE for the Rumble Rant. Thank you. So very, very much. And of course, that's a treat for Morty. Free will is the illusion of having absolute choice in your actions and thoughts. Absolute choice is the ability to turn your life 180 at any time to change skills or lifestyle or thoughts. Great. Oh, God damn it. So this person put that. Okay, so we got to put them in timeout because I'm still getting the things that they're saying on my end. So the report and timeout, please. Thank you. Guante said chemicals pre-exist ideas, but some ideas influence the chemicals. It's basically chicken or the egg at that point. I'll choose not to put one above the other and just enjoy my omelet. Love it. Ooh, the Christians are mad.
As a means to an end. So there is no value in the work itself, but what it produces. The artist Camus saw profound meaning in the work, in the creation, in the craft, as well as the final product. Material success can feed your stomach, but the process of art creation can nourish your soul. Since the universe doesn't care, it is incumbent upon us to care and create something meaningful for ourselves.
Oof, love that. I love that. The universe doesn't care.
Material success can feed your stomach, but the process of art creation can nourish your soul. Since the universe doesn't care, it is incumbent upon us to care and create something meaningful for ourselves.
Hell yeah.
And art is perhaps the best way to give life meaning. By art, I don't mean painting, but it can be any craft. The root of the word art is skilled work or craft, so we can find meaning in our work and craft. Camus even said that living is an art form. Quote,
living is an art form. Interesting. Oh, they are coming for you, boy. They want it so bad. Where said once exposed to the virus of religion, one cannot completely move forward without distraction. We can definitely agree on that. Dilly, mung, and dilly. Yeah, life. Oh, it doesn't say it here, but yeah, life is.
Find meaning in our work and craft. Camus even said that living is an art form. Quote, it takes time to live. Like any work of art, life needs to be thought about.
There you go. Good job,
4.
Zippy. Earning your
miseries
shit.
are random.
Life is definitely cruel. And again,
Camus supposedly
this idea that life just, well, what am I doing? That life just is. Sure. But as a thinking, feeling being, it's not always fun. It's not always fun.
4. Life's miseries are random. Albert Camus supposedly said that dying in a car accident is the most absurd death. Yet that's precisely how he died. This is not unique in this case. A lot of famous novelists have died in ironic ways.
Really? I did not know that was a pattern. Was there another one? Okay. Sorry guys, these motherfuckers, they don't come in order. Okay. Where said the universe made you what you are and does not judge you for that. Oh, that's what the Christians are for. And my mom. Multibox said if you are non-mainstream and fiercely independent with your artistic ventures, surely you don't need anyone else. For the art, sure. But to live and be comfortable, if you want to survive on that, then of course you do. Of course you do. If you want to be an artist by trade, then it absolutely needs other people. Otherwise, you are broke and you will starve and you will die. Where said the universe will definitely resist you if you resist it. I can agree with that. Shout out to SeatShops23. Welcome to the party. It's an evening worldwide geniuses and shitheads alike. Just came out and see what's a guan here. Philosophy for fuckwits like me? Yup. It's going to be too deeply highbrow for me. Nah, bro, we got this. That's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here. Bringing it down to the level that everybody can understand it. And not because it is something that it doesn't matter about highbrow. Or it's just about understanding what's actually being said. And I think that's the hardest part about all this. So you're in the right place, brother. Welcome.
That's miseries are random. Albert Camus supposedly said that dying in a car accident is the most absurd death. Yet that's precisely
see like this is what we mean. This is what we mean. Like, yes, that's what he meant. Did you think he meant something else? Because clearly it was a self-deprecating joke about he doesn't understand things. So now you're just dogging on one of my members for reasons. Seems like you're seeking validation.
how he died. This is not unique in this case. A lot of famous novelists have died in ironic ways. Two of the most famous Russian writers, Alexander
What? Man? What's mandem? What? I think that's a compliment, right? But I don't know what that means. Sorry. Gontag. So do you think that too many in this philosophical generation forget the question and just assert the truth? Hell yes. Some absurdists just assert that there's no meaning instead of being open to the question of if life doesn't matter. Is this why they seem to have fallen away from the real benefit of absurdism and fallen into nihilism so easily? I mean, it definitely makes sense. I wouldn't cast that, too broadly. But yeah, I think there's a lot of people who are so deep into I have it right. And even maybe not, let me take that back. Not I have it right. You have it so wrong. You have it so wrong that I have to tell you. I think there's a lot of people like that. Absolutely. I mean, unless we're talking, like before you really think that boomers and Gen X thought about the world and social stuff for better or worse, social matters and how we interact, you think that was more relevant before? Nah, come Come on. Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, hey, bad philosophy is not philosophy. Bad philosophy is not philosophy. And you see a lot more aware, maybe of not the right things, but seeking awareness. Yes, seeking. Than the other their counterparts. Everything just is, oh, who cares about that stuff? Da, 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 da. Oh, that's what's happening. Okay, sorry.
Pushkin and Mikhail Lermontov died in a duel which they had fictionalized in their own novels. Nikolai Gogol went mad, which he had written about in his short
real quick, pro tip. If you got a spam like that, just reload the page and then all the stuff that is there on YouTube in the YouTube chat disappears. Okay.
Which they had fictionalized in their own novels. Nikolai Gogol went mad, which he had written about in his short story, A Madman's Diary. But what's interesting in Camus' case is that he understood that life is, for the most part, pretty random. As a result, pain and suffering are also pretty random. Nobody signs up to be sick, yet age 17 he fell ill. As I said before, he had a train ticket in his pocket when he died, yet he decided to go by car. When we face hardships, illnesses, tragedies, or accidents, we often question the unfairness of it. Yet that's what life is. It is, for the most part, unfair.
Because to me, now we are specifically talking about Albert Camus and absurdism.
Then we often question the unfairness of it. Yet that's what life is. It is, for the most part, unfair. Camus died at the height of his fame, only 3 years after winning the Nobel Prize. He was 46 years old. Yet it could have been worse. He could have died age 17 with tuberculosis.
True.
His attitude was to embrace life with its randomness and absurdities. Because the value of life is not in its happiness, but the life itself.
Based. Not here for a long time, I'm here for a good time. Olivag said, yes, I'm going to give my music away for free to avoid the need for external validation, recognition, or success. Good for you. Good for you. Oh, man, I love you guys so much.
And absurdities. Because the value of life is not in its happiness, but the life itself. Quote, should I kill myself or have a cup of coffee? But in the end, one needs more courage to live than to kill himself.
Based. Oh, one needs more courage to live than to end himself. Shout out to Big Boy over on Twitch. Welcome to the party. I am doing quite well. How about yourself? Welcome. Aware said, ever hear about the one teacher who was in it for the money? This clearly is a reference. I'm not seeing where it's from. Sorry.
Himself or have a cup of coffee. But in the end, one needs more courage to live than to kill himself. Camus' philosophy was that one must accept the absurdities of life, but
yeah, I agree that if you can prevent it, then you should have control of your own life as much as possible. But again, that what's the context of that? And so, are we talking about gun laws? In which case, yeah, I think everybody should be allowed to have a gun. Are we talking about fighting an invasion? Well, then, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and let y'all who are taller and stronger and own and know how to use guns, I'm gonna put my life in y'all's hands, because that's not a good situation for you, for any of us. Gonzac said to Multivox, but aren't you doing a disservice to yourself and others by not making the most of it? The money can be used to reach others and possibly help them be more enlightened. I would agree. And we got another rumble ram from our boy. I gotta, where are we at? Remind me if I don't update the banner. But he said, for the doggo. Yummy, bacon treats. Thank you. All right, let me update this banner before I forget.
To live than to kill himself. Camus' philosophy was that one must accept the absurdities of life, but also its miseries, not by closing your eyes, But
But
5. Ignorance is
knowledge-
not bliss.
Oh, right out of the mouth. Ignorance is not, in fact, bliss. Okay, all right. I tend to agree that ignorance is only bliss, given the knowledge of something you don't know how to deal with. But yeah.
5. Ignorance is not bliss. Fyodor Dostoevsky and Albert Camus have a lot in common. Both had to deal with the idea of meaninglessness and nihilism.
Let's dig into this. Why don't you want to seek others' validation? And when I ask that question, I specifically mean, why is it not of interest to you? Why is it of interest to you to not seek others' validation? That's a question for Multivox. Where production, it said ego is in all humans, but teaching is never the best choice if you're looking for maximum profit. Agreed. C-Chop said, aware productions, you ain't very aware if you assume I hate women. Presumably because of my name? Not enough evidence to say I hate women. Do some due diligence if you want to cast heavy aspersions. But maybe, just maybe, we joke here. You know, it's like jokes and stuff because, you know, like fun. Quantex, your refusal of validation might be causing more harm than using the validation to help others. That's why I'm asking. That's specifically why I'm asking. Because it seems now that it's more important to you that you don't seek others' validation than to have the internal validation. Yano? Giving my power to others because they may never give me validation. Can you be a little bit more specific? What I don't know what that refers to. Why is it important to you to make sure because here's the thing about giving, they may never give me validation. Yeah, I started this channel knowing that people may never give me validation. That doesn't mean that I don't want the validation. That doesn't mean that I don't need the validation in order to achieve the goal. So it's almost like you're creating a false dichotomy where either all you care about is external validation or you're actively against what other people think about you. And neither of those seem to make sense or be the circumstance.
Fyodor Dostoevsky and Albert Camus have a lot in common. Both had to deal with the idea of meaninglessness and nihilism that was spreading in Europe. However, Dostoevsky returned to faith and tradition on the one hand and innocence and naivety on the other. So fundamentally, Dostoevsky was against questioning traditions and religions, instead preferred blissful innocence and faith. Camus, however, was an atheist. For him, religion or naivety was not the answer. You had to know the cold, hard truth of life. He didn't believe in God. Unlike Dostoevsky,
I didn't know that Morty was in the chat. Shout out to his daughter and John.
Camus thought knowledge was liberating. Dostoevsky didn't want Russians to get exposed to bad ideas coming from the West. For Camus, that boat had already sailed. You cannot close your eyes and pretend life is all good and there's a God that would protect you. For Camus, we are not only...
That is where ignorance is bliss comes in. But the blissful nature of being unaware is superseded by the awareness and understanding of what can be.
Only in the wilderness, but we are the wilderness, and we have to come up with a solid solution in our pursuit of meaning, just as we have to build shelter and find food. But Camus says a cold shower is always better than no shower. So Camus, just like Friedrich Nietzsche, preferred painful truths than comforting lies or blissful naivety.
So wait, are you saying anybody who considers themselves as a teacher, even if they're just babysitting, they're training dogma? Is that the claim?
6. Fearing death is like fearing life. In his first major novel, A Happy Death, Albert Camus talks about two deaths. The first death is the murder of a crippled man, and the second, a natural death after an illness. In this novel, Camus tries to show that we are driven not by our desire to live long, as Schopenhauer said, or dominate others, as Nietzsche argued, but our own desire to be happy. Quote, "The craving for happiness seemed to me the noblest thing in a man's heart. In my eyes, that justified everything."
I don't know about all that. I don't know about all that. Just because it makes you happy doesn't make it justified.
But despite his best effort, even committing a murder, he fails to find happiness. But when he faces his own death, he realizes something deeper inside him. Death is just...
Oh, so we're just talking about teaching versus educating. Okay, so sure. Yeah, no, yes. I just like, see again, when you say that if you're a teacher, then what people think of is a school teacher. So if you want people to understand what you mean and you're not talking in the common parlance, then you have to say that I'm talking about the difference between one who is educating and Teutons. It's oppression. Sure, yeah, okay, but
find happiness. But when he faces his own death, he realizes something deeper inside him. Death is just part of life, just another phase of it. Death often means misery, pain, and struggle, yet it can be happy. Just as the Greek philosopher...
Well, I think there's a very big difference in death and in dying. The state of being dead does not scare me in the slightest. Dying is scary. That scares the shit out of me. I mean, again, am I cowering in fear and preventing myself from doing relatively innocuous things that could potentially lead to my death? Of course not. But there's a difference between the state of death, the state of not being alive anymore, and death itself. Multibog said, "I spent my entire life solely relying on external validation and it never came. So I'm trying a new path of self-validation." I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear it. But in the same way that and I do not mean any ill will when I say this. That fits. The thing is that you have to understand that not all of us spent our entire lives relying on external validation that never came. And so while that is an important thing for you, and I absolutely respect that, then acting as if that is how it is for everybody is rather arrogant. Not everybody's you, bro. You're you, and I'm me. And when I'm articulating specifically why I don't have a problem with external validation because I didn't spend my life relying on it, then that makes perfect sense why we would have different relationships with seeking external validation, no?
Of it. Death often means misery, pain, and struggle, yet it can be happy. Just as the Greek philosopher Epicurus said, since we do not and cannot know death, we should not fear it either. It is what it is. The fear of death is
right. I don't fear death, I fear dying.
Like having a monkey on your back, which makes you fear life itself. In two of Camus' novels, when the protagonists face the real prospect of death, they finally realize they are happy. So I guess Camus says, to be really happy, one must fully and completely accept death. Quote, "He realized now to be afraid of this death he was staring at with animal terror meant to be afraid of life."
Ooh. Live in the here and now. I don't think anybody is disagreeing with that. To be said to aware production, centralized testing is oh, did I miss something else? Oh, you guys are saying, yeah. Oh, yeah. Mass education is most often just teaching, and if we're saying teaching is indoctrination, and that's different than education, then agree. Great. Interesting. The Socratic method is not for group teaching. Tell that to Peter Boghossian. I think he does it pretty well, and I've seen. I think I've only seen it once, but I saw a teacher actually do the street. It wasn't. I mean, they burned it in the classroom, but the street epistemology thing that Peter Boghossian does in the classroom. If you're not familiar, Peter Boghossian, he does this thing where he'll just go out and he'll have a prompt, and he has these mats on the ground, and everybody have like 3 or 4 people lined up on neutral, and then the options are somewhat agree, somewhat agree or disagree, and then strongly agree or disagree. And so he'll give the prompt, and then everybody's like, 1, 2, 3, go. And so everybody goes to their position, and then he goes down with the Socratic method, and people like it because they're not used to it, because it's not in school. So I don't necessarily agree. Point is, the classroom is not the best way to address the individual self-discovery. Agreed.
And lives in here and now. And the stranger Merceau thinks he cannot change things in life. It makes no difference whether he loves his girlfriend or not, moves to Paris or not. He leaves all those things to other people to decide.
Quote.
Mother died today, or maybe yesterday. I can't be sure.
That sounds like some Bob Dylan lyrics right there.
To other people to decide. Quote.
Mother died today. Oh, maybe yesterday. I can't be sure.
Mother died today, or maybe.
See, and fair. It's not that trying something different that is the arrogance. It's the assumption that your path, even though you're just trying it, and the last path you were on was, by your own admission or by your own standard, not good, coming in here and lecturing and saying you should do this and you shouldn't do that, and you should. How do you know you're not just as wrong about this as you were about that? That's the arrogance. So maybe try something different, see that it works, see why it is different, see how other people had the relationship with what didn't, and then you can lecture people. This is like this is like when, the same thing that I ask to every single Christian ever who wants to tell me that they know this, that about God, about the universe. Okay, fine. I'm willing to accept that. I'm an open-minded individual. I spent most of my life as a fully believing Christian, not even thinking that atheism was a reasonable thing. But the evidence led me there. And that's where I have to go. So when you have a claim, I'm again, in the same way, I'm saying that multi-box, you could be wrong. I was also wrong when I believed in God and religion, all that stuff. So I maintain the possibility that I am still just as wrong. I'm not going into small YouTube channels and preaching how they should live. But you are. And so I'm just saying, I'm glad that you're on a new journey, and I hope it works out for you. But we're not all the same. We're trying to avoid assuming all 80s and 90s education was the same. Yep. How can a Vedic truth? I don't know what that means. What's that mean again? For a number of things. Okay, so it has to do with the Hindus. So Guamtech said to Multibox, I wouldn't say that what you're doing is wrong. Me neither, except for the way you're going about it. Guamtech continues, I just wonder if you could get more out of it without being so dogmatic about it. Just my opinion, but I'm glad it's working for you. I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. That's why, like, when there was so my parents are still very religious, and my dad's supportive, but he's a boomer. He don't really understand this stuff. And so we started a tattoo removal practice together. And there was a guy that came in and doesn't matter what the tattoos, but he was in prison doing drugs, all this stuff, and now he found God, and his life is so much better. My dad's like, you should have him on the show. I'm like, why would I do that? The man fixed his life. Why would I want to take that away from him? So it's not about being right. It's about understanding where people are. And while I do think that it is important for people to have to deal with the actual reality of their ideology, it all happens in time. You can't force it. I said, I'm not lecturing. I'm just quoting my ADHD coach's advice to me. Fair enough. Sicha. So I'm guessing Ayurvedic disciplines, but I don't know anything about it. I don't even know what that means. So who's highbrow and lowbrow here?
Not. He leaves all those things to other people to decide. Quote, mother died today, or maybe yesterday, I can't be sure. Even the most crucial act in the novel, the murder, he says happened because the sun was shining too bright. He lives a dull, indifferent life, does a dull job, and has a dull relationship. You could say Marceau is a typical human animal who lives in here and now, just like millions of us around the world. A good example is Charles Bukowski, who lived his life in somewhat similar fashion. Of course, he didn't murder anyone, but he did live his life as an outsider or a stranger who didn't give an F to anything. He drank, he gambled, had sex, worked dull jobs, and wrote poetry and fiction.
Based.
He didn't pretend he was a saint and often confessed at being a dirty bastard. Albert Camus shows the animalistic side of a human life. Despite years and centuries of rational thinking being hammered in us through our education system, most of us just live life on a daily basis. We don't think about the future or try not to think about the past. If the past or the future makes us anxious, we use alcohol, drugs, social media to bring us back to the present in order to numb the pain of the past or the anxiety of the future.
Been there.
So in reality, life happens in here and now for the most part.
Hey, shout out to Right Click. Welcome to the party. Said is it Vedics or Vedics? Are the priest class on Bajor from Deep Space Nine. Durr. Well, I've never seen that. But welcome to the party.
The pain of the past or the anxiety of the future. So in reality, life happens in here and now for the most part. Quote, Mama used to say that one can always find something to be happy about. In my prison, when the sky turned red and the new day
I am so glad that when this first came out, I took the time to figure out how to do that. Because, yeah, bro. Yeah.
Slipped into my cell, I found out that she was right. We often think of a glass as half empty. It could be
I think of it as half full. Multifox says, thanks for the advice. That's what we're see. This is what I'm so happy. This is what I want. Us helping each other. Nobody here is perfect. Nobody here knows everything. Nobody has all the answers, but together we're more powerful, right? Of course.
into my cell, I found out that she was right. We often think of a glass as half empty. It could be much worse. Merceau in his prison cell, while facing death penalty, finds joy in the shifting sunlight on the prison wall. So happiness is not out there, it is in here and now. It only depends on if you can see it or how you see the world.
And I will add to that as well that you can absolutely, as we've been talking about, you can absolutely live a happy and fulfilled. Well, let's take happy out of it. You can live a fulfilled, authentic life without needing validation from anyone. But that doesn't mean that because it's not necessary, that it's not beneficial, desirable, so on and so forth.
8. Crises give us opportunity to become greater.
All right, we're on 8 out of 10, guys, but we are about to hit the 3-hour mark. Dollar, we'll keep it raging. Let's go.
Than ourselves. In his novel The Plague, Camus pits an individual's desire to be free against society's goal to continue. In other words, an individual animal's desire to live his best life versus the survival of the species as a whole. When the
Think Bonzo Dog Doodah Band. I need to hear that in the after party. I don't know what that means. Principle of natural order that regulates the universe and everything within it. It can be translated as order, rule, truth, logos, fixed or settled, divine law, or universal law. Did I miss something? Is this what you're talking about? Again, guys, I'm not claiming to be some genius here. We're all learning together. Multibox said, I'm just quoting my therapist and coach's advice, and I'm so sorry if it came across as opinionated. I'm trying to make sense of it all. We all are. And that is totally okay. Totally okay. I definitely put my foot in my mouth more times than I would like to admit. But as long as we admit it, then we there. Dilly dilly to you, sir. Hey, shout out to C. Chas with the super sticker. Thank you, thank you, thank you so very, very much. Is that that's not, is that pounds? That's is that euros? I don't know. Either way, thank you very, very much. Let's keep the party
Plague hits a
raging.
town, people want to save themselves and their loved ones. But as the plague persists and more people die, there's a switch. You could call it an evolutionary switch that is turned on among the people. More people put their own lives on the line to save others. People say tragedies bring people together, wars unite, and plague sharpens our instinct for survival. In this novel, Camus highlights one of the most important aspects of human life: courage. As we are becoming more rational, we become less and less courageous.
But I never really thought about it that way. The more logical and rational we become, the less courageous. But do we necessarily, we don't, there's not as much to fear because we've rationally and logically and practically gotten rid of that which we're afraid of. So, okay, yeah, we become more rational, become less courageous because we don't have as much, there's not as much danger to face. And again, we go back to the ideas of Jordan Peterson and that courage is not being without fear. It is having the fear and pushing through it.
Aspects of human life: courage. As we are becoming more rational, we become less and less courageous. We put our own
Hey, buddy, it's the thought that counts. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
survival or interest before everyone else's. However, the history of humanity has been nothing but a series of calamities confronted by courageous deeds of those who came before us. When a society faces a disaster, it
Go back. So, Aware Production said Satya principle of truthfulness. That means seeing and reporting things as they are rather than how we would like them to be. It is considered essential to the universe and reality. Eternal truth. Those are the basis of the Vedic truth. No, not so complicated at all. It is rather courageous to just throw an opinion out without logic. Such courage is also known as foolishness. So going back to this idea of rationality and courage, maybe courage isn't as important as they're making it seem. Now, I'm not saying that it's not important, but maybe not as big of a deal.
is confronted by courageous deeds of those who came before us. When a society faces a disaster, it takes a little while for us to show our courage. Just like the plague virus that sits deep inside the human species or nature and needs a trigger strong enough to bring it out, human courage is also present deep inside us, and when it's triggered, we rise up to the challenge to become greater than ourselves.
Sometimes it takes a fool to judge a king. Indeed. Make sure there, perhaps, maybe, we'll see. Yeah, and that definitely is along the lines of, you know, just an idea and a value, whatever you want to call it. The notion that the meek shall inherit the earth. That's it. That's something that you don't necessarily want to throw out just because you don't believe in the truth claims that brought the people who said this to say this. Well, the box said, I guess it's a huge learning curve. Oh, yes, sir. Oh, yes, sir. Well, I'm calling you sir. I don't know what you're saying, but absolutely. I prefer the words passionate, focused, and determined to dogmatic. Fair enough. We can give that to you. And clearly, as you're saying, oh, okay, I'm taking in the words that you're saying, and I'm changing my opinion based on new information. That's not dogmatic. So passionate, focused, and determined it is. Aware Production says sometimes it takes a fool to not judge a king. Oh my God, you guys are on fire. The passion is useful. Stay open and you'll be fine. Multi has opposed dogma. That is not dogma. Yes, I have been corrected. He is passionate. He is focused, and he is determined, and he is not dogmatic. and I love it.
Present deep inside us, and when it's triggered, we rise up to the challenge to become greater than ourselves. The Plague, despite being a despairing novel, is also a hopeful one about human nature. The courage to help others is closely tied to our survival instinct as well as our desire to love others. Quote, to state quite simply what we learn in times of pestilence, that there are more things to admire in men than to despise.
So let's go in this. Are people inherently good? And so when I do these polls, I purposely phrase them vaguely because I want you to interpret it, how you interpret it, and then we can talk about it. So the question, shout out to the replay gang if you are still watching, are people inherently good? Yes or no? Yes or no? Multibox said I'm open to change, which is the opposite of dogma. I'm being honest and vulnerable. Absolutely. And again, I very, very, very much appreciate it. Where production said, Multi, if you rely on self-validation, you can never be dogmatic. I like that. What about me?
Come on, man.
What is good and what is bad? Well, that depends on what you think. That's the question. That ends the question.
We learn in times of pestilence that there are more things to admire in men than to despise. In a way, you could argue Camus was responding to the highly individualistic philosophy of Nietzsche that sometimes the happiness of others can be incredibly meaningful for an individual. A lone wolf artist has his place in human history, but
so Multi, now we're talking exactly about your situation. Somebody who is doing things in their own life, not looking for validation of others. Let's see what they got to say about it.
Meaningful for an individual. A lone wolf artist has his place in human history, but so does a caring individual who sacrifices his or her happiness to bring joy to others. Quote, what is true of all the evils in this world is true of the plague as well. It helps men to rise above themselves.
Good one.
9.
Good
Life
one.
is meaningless, but we're happy. Albert Camus in his essay, The Myth of Sisyphus.
Hey, shout out to Multivox gifting a membership. Thank you so very much. Should join the member. You feeling okay, bud? He was in the ER. Not last night, the night before. But thank you so very, very much. I wish you would have joined. And you know what? Multivox, if you join the Discord, I mean anybody can join the Discord, but Multivox, if you join the Discord, send me a DM. I got you.
9. Life is meaningless, but we're happy. Albert Camus in his essay, The Myth of Sisyphus, confronts the biggest absurdity or contradiction of human existence. Humans seek meaning in life, yet the universe provides no answer. Quote, man stands face to face with the irrational. He feels within him his longing for happiness and for reason. The absurd is born of this confrontation between the human need and the unreasonable silence of the world.
Man stands face to face with the irrational. He feels within him his longing for happiness and for reason. The absurd is born of this confrontation between the human need and the unreasonable silence of the world. Yeah, I love it.
As I discussed earlier, Sisyphus is condemned to endlessly push the boulder up a mountain. We all
forever. If you don't know, you're too young.
Wake up, go to work, come home, sleep, and repeat the same thing tomorrow. I read books, synthesize ideas, turn them into video, upload, and start a new project, and it goes on and on. Parts of the process I enjoy, but parts of it I dislike and even hate. But I have to do it partly to earn a living and partly because of this primal human urge, enjoying the struggle itself.
Enjoying the struggle. Hey, we got Guanteg with the Venmo. Look how excited he is. You guys are giving him his energy back. You guys are giving him his energy back. Oh my goodness. Thank you. So very, very much, sir. Very, very, very much appreciated. And you know that means the party rages on. Let's do it. Thank you, sir.
To earn a living and partly because of this primal human urge, enjoying the struggle itself. If Sisyphus were to look at me, he would think it's as absurd as I see him pushing the boulder. Albert Camus perhaps understood that our religious past has made us a bit soft. Religions offered neat little stories about life's purpose, which got us used to the clear path and solid stories explaining human existence.
Oh, we know that Peterson would love that. Well, the stories. That's I haven't heard him in a minute. That impression was really bad, but sometimes I'm on point with it. But
Life's purpose. Our religious past has made us a bit soft. Religions offered neat little stories about life's purpose, which got us used to the clear path and solid stories explaining human existence.
That's exactly why I think that religion was the predecessor to what science has become. And the problem is that people are not letting that development, and we are not allowing religion to take its place in mythology. Sad.
Life's purpose, which got us used to.
Guys, the poll is still at 50-50. Are people inherently good? Yes or no? Break that tie.
Clear path and solid stories explaining human existence. So once a religious myth is destroyed by science and rationality, we still crave for a new story that explains the meaning of life.
I was mid-sip. I have to do this.
Is destroyed by science and rationality.
God damn it, I forgot the... Oh, I forgot. I was going to make a Panic at the Disco joke, but I forgot the goddamn lyrics.
Explaining human existence. So once a religious myth is destroyed by science and rationality...
What is the line there? Poison rationality, I chimed in. Haven't you people ever heard of? Okay, we got it.
Explaining human existence. So once a religious myth is destroyed by science and rationality,
I chimed in. There we go. There we go. The joke landed.
For a new story that
that's so
explains the meaning
amazing.
of life. But Camus says we should not seek comforting stories about life, but find meaning in its hardship. We should enjoy life not because it's easy, we should enjoy it more because it's struggle. People who stay home all day and do nothing are not the happiest people. The happiest people are those who accept life's struggles.
Well, and I might, if I want to nitpick that, then, going back to our discussion about, the running discussion about validation. If you can sit at home, we were talking about Sisyphus just sitting on the mountain and looking at the view, or sitting on the boulder. It kind of goes to the notion that theoretically somebody could be happy just by sitting around if they accept that that's all they want. Why not?
Enjoy life not because it's easy, we should enjoy it more because it's struggle.
That's it seems a little bit. Look, I don't disagree with the notion, but it doesn't seem in line with, well, it's the absurd nature. You guys, am I making sense or no? Aware Productions said I can go out into the world and still not seek outside validation. Word up. Seicha said 20 years on, this fool is still trying to work out how I drove to Baghdad when all left, including UN, to tour a stupid clown show, working with traumatized kids. Felt like Sisyphus is trying to understand. There you go. There you go. No matter how many times you push the boulder up, it's going to roll down, and you got to do it again. Guamtag said religious people seem offended by being considered mythology. Yeah. Mythology still has useful lessons, so why be upset by it? Because that means it's not true. Own it and let it work for you. It doesn't mean you aren't allowed to believe it. That's a very good point. That's a very good point. Religious people are allowed to suck my dick. I mean, if you're a hot girl, I said shit, me too.
People who stay home all day and do nothing are not.
No, yeah. So yeah, you're trying to say in the right. People asked, wouldn't it have been better to use that cash for meds and aid? No, yeah, I don't fully understand the context. What it's it seems like you're on the right track. And yeah, Aware Productions 100% agree. Find literary truth in mythology. But make sure that you understand and acknowledge to others that it is in fact mythology. Mythology. What is wrong with me today? Mythology should not be an instruction book. Yeah, agreed. There should be values to be learned, but it's not an instruction book or a guidebook. We're unfortunately aware we're not going to be putting up fake news.
You enjoy it more because it's struggle. People who stay home all day and do nothing are not the happiest people. The happiest people are those who accept life's struggles. Life is meant to be hard. We're meant to struggle and get on with it.
No, I do not believe in heaven. I believe that it is possible. It doesn't make sense, but no, I do not believe in heaven. If you ask me, do you believe that heaven exists? I say no, but that doesn't mean I believe that heaven does not exist.
The more you cushion yourself from hardship, the harder life becomes. Sisyphus doesn't crave for a deeper meaning to his so-called feudal existence. He finds meaning in the struggle itself, in the work itself. But Camus doesn't stop.
What's too difficult, bro? You here? You in it? What do you mean?
There. 10.
We're rebels!
Life is not meant to be passive acceptance, but an active rebellion. Quote, I revolt, therefore we exist. Albert Camus is torn between
I revolt, therefore we exist. That's kind of based. Again, context matters. But really quick, this is the number 10 of 10. So before we finish this up, guys, I want to ask you a couple huge favors. If you've not already hit that like button, please hit the like button. If you've not hit the subscribe button, please hit the subscribe button. If you have not hit the bell, please hit the bell. If you have not joined the Discord, please join the Discord. All of that is absolutely free. It is absolutely free. And you can do it by the time I finish this sentence, and it won't cost you anything. I'm really, really trying to build something here. I really, really, really think that this can be something. And specifically, because I'm not trying to be some cult leader, that I'm trying to build us a community together. I really think that we can do something here. But talking about other people, I can't do it alone. I might have the greatest ideas in the fucking world, but if nobody hears them, then it doesn't fucking matter. So even if you can't, even if you can't afford to do whatever, again, this is a free show. It is totally, there's no cost for you to be here, to have me interact with you. This is a free show. The Discord is a free operation because I care that it grows. But unfortunately, for it to grow, it needs a little bit more. And so if you can't, hey, that's totally cool. But if you can, it would change the game. 99 cents once a week, 99 cents once a month. Change the game. Let's grab some of these and finish this up. Exactly. And enjoy the conversation. Qualtech said, I have faith in an afterlife. Loser. Jokes. I don't believe in hell, but I try to act as though heaven exists. Why? Like, why? Okay. So let's say you hypothetically, for whatever reason, by whatever mechanism, you knew for sure that heaven didn't exist. What would you do differently? Nothing? That's what I thought. So are you really acting as if it exists? Or are you acting as if the idea that there is something that is more right than bad is what I wanted to aspire to? This is specifically what I mean when we talk about how all this political stuff and even the more general spiritual stuff is so wrapped around religion that you need the royal you need that backdrop of religion and like, well, religion, but this, that's your anchor is Christianity or just religion in general. What would change? What would change if you knew heaven didn't exist? If you say nothing, then that's a meaningless statement. I act as though heaven exists. I try to be a good person. That's all. That's all you're saying. Aware said heaven is a word. Thusly, you may be there now. We don't know. Wally Vox said, isn't it ironic that finally self-validating made me come across as someone I'm not? That finally self-validating make me come across as someone who's not. No, I don't. No, no, no. And I'll tell you why. Absolutely not. And I will tell you why. Because the fact that we are all so unique and individual, and not as conforming as some people pretend we are. I am such a different person than you. We may have a lot in common. We may have more in common than any other two people on the goddamn earth, but we are still very different people. So it absolutely makes sense that when you are in your true self and you're not filtering for what other people may think, and you're just articulate, you're just expressing, it absolutely makes sense that other people wouldn't understand it. And so step one is to get it out there and see what the misunderstanding is. Like, oh, okay, that's the misunderstanding between what I actually meant and the way that it was received. And it could be as simple as not even needing to change the words around. It may just be a tonal difference. So I don't think that's ironic at all. I think that's very much in line, because I definitely experienced the same thing. I mean, of course, when we're young, we're always looking for a validation. We're always looking for, we want to have friends and this and that. Oh, thank you, Multibox. I appreciate you. Yeah, we always have that, and we learn to kind of grow out of that and be like, wait, like I don't have to be you in order to be good or cool or whatever it is you're trying to be. I can just be me. And that's going to rub some people the wrong way because they're not you. No apologies necessary. That's another place for my conversation. Too much detail. Well, again, you are a member, so if you're not in the Discord, we are headed over there very shortly. Gontex said, why not? It works for me and doesn't seem to cause harm. I'm okay with it just being another way of saying I try to be a decent person. I know it works for you. But what about all the people that we can talk about all the time for whom it doesn't work? If it's nothing to, if it's all the same to you, and it means so much to me, then why not just do the easy thing that means nothing to you? That would mean the world to me and people like me. Now, am I dying inside because people use religious language? No. But it's grains of sand that make a heap. Use it a turn a phrase until I have the proof. Fair enough. All right, let's finish this up. I know you love that magical thinking. Huh? Good one.
Rebellion. Quote, I revolt, therefore we exist. Albert Camus was torn between two divergent philosophies, the socialist philosophy of Karl Marx and the radical individualist philosophy of Friedrich Nietzsche. One heavily group-oriented, the other heavily individual. But what both German philosophers had in common was an active rebellion against the modern condition. Marx wanted a revolution against capitalism inequality, while Nietzsche, on the other hand, wanted a rebellion against Western philosophical tradition of rationality, religion, and nihilism.
So yeah, Gontex said, I'm okay with magical language. I still believe this cold, dark world could use a little magic. I would prefer science, but whatever. And for the people it doesn't work for, I'll change my language accordingly. It's up to them to want to know what I mean by it. What if they don't? Do you have no vested interest in people understanding you unless they want to? Because it seems like specifically it's the people who don't want to understand you who need the most help semantically in understanding what you're saying. That's why Salon over here doesn't understand the connection between him, like, oh my God, Trump Bibles, and me posting a picture of the Fauci candle. He doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. So it needs to be spelled out for him. If somebody's just going to be offended by it and not engage, then sure, I agree. But I do think it's our responsibility to own our own words. And if I say a thing and you misunderstand it, as long as I'm using unless I'm using the right words and you're just not listening or you're choosing to be offended, then it's my fault. It's my fault. I didn't articulate properly. Sizemore said, I act as if heaven doesn't exist. To me, that means I treat everyone with what kindness and understanding I can, trying not to burn bridges. I believe when they die, that's it. So make heaven here. Agreed. Multibog says, so you're saying prioritize self-validation and authenticity, and if external validation comes along, be humble and accept it. Absolutely. That's what it is. So, like, you didn't come here looking for my validation, but I didn't know you from any other, person with a profile picture that's not their face and something. You just another name. You didn't come here to have me be like, good job. You don't need that. But it's not nice, right? And so again, we go back to the prioritization. If you are prioritizing, as you said, and then the validation comes along, oh, hey, that's just bonus. We a horse and water can't beat it to death. Yep. And true, the validation is there, whether you accept it or not. Very, very well said. All right, I got to piss, and I want to try to finish this before
But
that.
Nietzsche, on the other hand, wanted a rebellion against Western philosophical tradition of rationality, religion, and nihilism. These two rather...
I was gonna end the poll. I thought yes went ahead, but can we get one more vote? Let's get one more vote, and we're at 9 votes. If we can get one more vote, we'll see if it's really 50-50. And don't just vote yes because you want it to be 50-50.
Opposing philosophies find themselves reconciled in Camus as he brings together the Nietzschean existentialist rebellion seeking purpose with the Marxian social rebellion seeking justice. The young Camus was more drawn to Marxism, but later he rejected revolution in favor of reform and became more Nietzschean in his philosophy. In his novel, The Stranger, Camus raises an important development in modern societies. Man's spirit of rebellion is broken through psychological infliction of guilt. To be human, one must cry. Throughout history, whenever
be human, one must cry.
An army conquered a place, they often killed all the men. Why? Because able-bodied men were dangerous to the new rulers. For the same reason, most people in jail are men, because men risk more to rebel or break the law.
I thought it was the patriarchy.
So modernity needs to tame men to conform, which kills men's...
Hey, 10 votes. 10 votes. And are people good? 60% of you said no. It's a tough one, right? Because again, the question is, what do we mean by good? What do we mean by inherently? But just on the basics of it, I do believe people are inherently good. But I think the universe is inherently at odds with what we would consider good, the flourishing of society. Nature is built to take out those who are not fit. So I think it's the opposite side of that. The Buddhist monk accepts kindness but does not ask for it. Yep. Well said. Guanzegs. And on the real, it's just fortunate for me that I don't solely rely on magical language to get my message across. Communication is up to me to perfect. I can only hope others are open to my methods. Very, very true. Okay. So if you're not familiar with Alan Moore, he's an incredible writer. Several Hollywood films. But remember his name from all of them. Not particular. Which films? Which films? We just gonna say that? We're not dropping names? Come on. What are we talking about here?
Creative energy as well as rebellious spirit. For Camus, our desire to be creative and find meaning in life goes hand in hand with our deep desire to fight injustice, inequality, repression. He saw an overlap between fighting for justice and being creative, both demanding a rebellious spirit which is getting crushed in the modern world. Camus says, I draw from the absurd 3 consequences, my revolt, my liberty, my passion. For Camus, human courage or heroism is a form of artistic rebellion seeking clarity. Life is not meant to be passive, so we must be active rebels who push boundaries. That's what he did through his writing. Albert Camus dedicated his life to writing novels and essays in an attempt to find a non-religious meaning. He finally settled on a simple idea. Life is not about finding meaning, but being content or even happy that it has no meaning. It's liberating.
Even being happy that it has no meaning, not just accepting that it has no meaning. And well, it has no meaning, but there's nothing I can do about it. Being happy that there's nobody, there's nothing telling you have to do this, you can't do that. Nobody. You get to choose. How much more empowering does it get? Multibox said, accepting validation, but not relying on it. That's what I'm taking away from this learning experience. And that is what happens when you come in with an idea and you're not dogmatic about it. You get smarter. And you guys definitely have challenged me a lot as well. And that's what I love. So thank you for being here.
Liberating to know that there is no grand purpose we have to adhere to or be bound by. He found his purpose in playing football, writing stories and essays, producing plays, inspiring others, and pushing boundaries of human intellect.
Jokes.
It doesn't matter which destination you have in mind, it is the dedication that matters, the process, the work itself. Sisyphus does the most futile job in the world, pushing a boulder up a mountain, knowing that it will fall back down, but he takes the job on the chin and keeps pushing. A river water only turns into a bog or quagmire and starts stinking when it stops moving.
Oh yeah, I am. Those are between you can even see the top two things I have here. We got stop semantic obfuscation and end dogma. TheIndianJesus.com. You can get t-shirts, you can get long sleeve shirts, you can get a mouse pad. Oh, you can get a desk mat, bro? How big are these? Oh, I might have to get one of these. These are lit. These are legit. You get something for your girl. That's oh, think about taking that off of her. Catmatic. I don't know how I haven't ever thought of that. That is funny. That is funny. Yeah, right. Great movie. We should do a movie night for Beef and Vendetta. TheIndianJesus.com. Or that. Boom. Get it. C-Chab said he still lives in this tiny little terrace house. Been there decades. Multi-millionaire. I've got some personal stories going to take, but not here. That is for the after party. Join the Discord. That is where we are 24/7. Let's finish this up and go to the after party.
Only turns into a bog or quagmire and starts stinking when it stops moving. So life is meant to be lived to the fullest. Push as hard as you can, and that should bring you joy and contentment. Because life itself is the biggest gift. Nothing else matters. Thank you for listening.
All right. So that is Albert Camus and absurdism. Now, there's obviously way more we can dive into. I think at this stage in the game, it's probably yes. Thank you for real. I think it's probably a better move to do more of these like Wikipedia-esque stuff. And get to a place where again the everybody can be on the same page. I don't want to go to highbrow and then just because this is stuff that it's not that you're too dumb to understand it, you just never took the time to read it, that you're not interested. You know what I mean? So we will figure it out. And again, guys, even if you are not familiar with Discord, it is free. It's free to join. It's free. It's it's not like a whole other social media thing. If you're not familiar, it's basically a group chat, but it has other features. And so if all you want to do is talk to people, you could do that. But there's other stuff as well. I highly, highly, highly suggest coming and joining. That is where we get into the real stuff. We are headed over to the after party right now for members. Oh my goodness, bro. Oh my goodness. Funk Master coming in hot said, y'all, please come hang out in the after party. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Haitians ate my dogma, and that dogma ate my homework. Oh my goodness. Shout out to Funk Master, our sponsor of the stream. He had 5 gifted memberships earlier before. Zippy came with 7 different Rumble rants. We had our boy C Chops with that European stuff. Multibox, our newbie, came in and gifting a membership. Like I said, Multibox joined to hit me up. And of course, closing us off like a gangster. Like a goddamn gangster. Thank you, thank you, thank you so very, very much, guys. I really, really do appreciate, you know, the fact that you guys are here. The fact that it's Friday night. You can be doing anything. You can be doing anything. And you're choosing to spend your time here. Even when we're in the midst of an argument. That means everything to me, guys. That means everything. And yes, you guys have absolutely validated me. And I think I need to chase that feeling. Half kidding, but thank you again, guys. Big shout out to the oh, did I forget Guamtech? Of course, the Venmo. Boom. Boom. Thank you, sir. And of course, you already were. I love you guys. Thank you so very much. Once again, this is Marty, and I have been your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of Common Sense, live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, guys, we are out of here. Peace.